Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
What's happening, big dog?
What's up, my man?
Hey, first archery shot ever.
Oh, that was cool.
40 yards with an 80-pound compound bow. You got it right in the fucking vitals.
It was cool.
That's an amazing thing. You should probably quit now.
Yeah.
I mean, to take, first of all, the bow's not even set up for you. The way the bow is set up is for me. I have shorter arms than you.
Right.
You would have a longer draw length, so you have to kind of like move your body a little, and you sent at that peep sight. Bro, that's a long shot for a first shot ever in a bow, 40 yards in an indoor range.
Now,
And
what
you
were
got
you-
it right in the vitals.
Yeah. Now, what were you thinking when I struggled to pull it back?
Normal. It's weird. It's,
Oh, that is
it's
a common
awkward.
thing that happened.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't have any excuses at least. Brian Callen had a fucking...
Wait, what did he say?
reading a scroll of
Wait, what did he
excuses.
say?
No.
My labrum.
It's probably technique, you know. So, and like, no, it's a strength thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is technique, but it's just 80 pounds is 80 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a lot of weight.
I have a new respect for bow and arrow folks.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard, but it's
Yeah.
really satisfying.
Like, it puts in perspective, like, the people who can do it on horseback. You know, you see it in the movies and shit like that. And I don't know why I didn't think it was that hard. But
Yeah, that's a next level thing. The horseback thing is crazy. The Mongols would time their shot when the horse was in the air.
yeah.
So when the horse was in the air, then they
Oh,
would release
mid-gallop.
it. Yes. So there would be less disturbance, less jolt on their body.
So was that? Yeah, we always talk about like Genghis Khan and how he was able to take over the world. Was the competitive advantage horseback weaponry?
They had a lot of things going for them. They had strategy, first of all. They had devious, wild strategies. Like they would set people up. Like they would send a small party out, and those people would go after a small party and chase them down. They would lead them into like a canyon filled with Mongols and just slaughter everybody and block the exit. And
Yeah.
they would hold a siege. They would attack a city, and they would bring so much food and so many supplies. They could just camp outside
and
the
wait for
city
them to starve.
until everybody starved out. And then they would start killing people and lighting them on fire and putting them on catapults and launching them over the walls and light their own houses on fire with the dead bodies of people they killed.
That's motivational.
Bro.
Yeah.
Those
I'll-
motherfuckers
yeah.
killed 10% of the population.
That's the crazy thing. Like, I don't know. I always wonder about these times. Like what was like the Roman Empire's advantage? And you know, some people chalk it up to like roads or like why was Genghis Khan so effective? But at a certain point in time, it has to be technology, right?
There was
They
a
have
lot, man, a lot going on. There was the knowledge of the recurve bow. They were really good at the recurve bows. They had catapults. And they just had, like, Genghis Khan just had this unquenchable desire to take over the world.
Yeah.
It's really crazy that, you know, no one's scared of the Mongols now, you know?
They
But
got-
then when one
yeah.
of those dudes fights in the UFC, you're like, Jesus.
Wait, who's Mongolian in the UFC?
Let's see. Who do we have? The Mongolian murderer. That's one dude. But there's people from that Caucasus region of the world. Like there's a lot of people from Kazakhstan and Dagestan.
So all the
and-
stands are
yeah,
remnants
those guys
of the
that
Mongolian
look
Empire.
a little Asian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rachmanov.
Yeah, Shavkat
Shavkat
Rachmanov.
Rachmanov. Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Kind
That
of a beast.
motherfucker's so good.
Yeah.
But they're just so tough over there. It's just crazy that they took over the whole world at one point in time, and then it all went away. Like that's a lesson for America to learn. Because Americans have this idea that we are the centerpiece of the military of the world. This is it. This is the baddest fucking army that's ever existed, bro. No one's going to stop us.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, every single civilization that has been in control has gone under. They all go under.
Now, did those civilizations have nukes?
No. No. That's the problem.
That's the tricky thing.
Yeah, the problem is if we go out ugly. But
Everybody
unless
goes out.
China is clever and they slowly dismantle our power grid and slowly pollute our country with like bombing chemical factories and do it slow over a long period of time. Like if you were a real conspiracy theorist, like one of them Reddit tinfoil hat.
Let's go deep, my boy.
You would think that China would not do a big thing, but a constant series of small things that people get accustomed to.
Yeah.
You know, cyber warfare. They would start, you know, hacking into Google servers, Amazon servers, crash everything, financial disruption, crash power grids. Do it slow. Do it over decades. You got plenty of time. As long as you don't nuke United States first, they're not going to nuke
That's
you.
right.
They're not going to. We already did that once.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
If anybody is going to be a first bomber, it's not going to be us. It's not going to be us.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
That's a problem. That's a strategic problem.
Yeah.
Because we're all worried about Putin. We're like, what if Putin gets back to the corner? What if Ukraine starts winning? What if this? What if that? What if Putin really does have cancer? What if he decides to go out with a bang? Like, we're worried about that. No one's worried. What if Biden just nukes China? What if Biden's like, what's this TikTok? You don't want to talk? You don't want to talk? You don't want to tell us about the code? How about this? Boom! Never. Never. We would never think that the Biden administration would go and nuke someone.
Never. And they know that. And because they know that, they're comfortable.
Yeah, so that you could do sneaky things.
Yeah.
I would do sneaky things. If I was China, or
Slowly
if I was Russia, or if I was
destabilize.
Iran, if I was
Yeah.
some country that didn't like us, I would do sneaky things.
So is that the concern with TikTok?
Oh, yeah. There was some fascinating conversations today.
Because it looks like they're going to ban it.
For sure, they're not telling the truth. Like the way this CEO was talking to the senator today is like, oh my God. It's like they just want to say whatever they have to say to get out of there.
Wow,
like
what
he
did they
doesn't
say?
answer the questions. He dances around, and the senator keeps trying to say, that's a yes or no question.
Right.
That's a yes or no question.
Yeah.
Like these dudes have been sending data to China from day one.
Yeah.
And they're doing something with that data. They're
Yeah.
accumulating. They're finding out how coordinated our kids are.
Yeah.
They got facial recognition on
That's
all
what
of them.
the dances are about. They're just trying to find out how coordinated.
Imagine.
Bro. Wow, every TikTok trend is just a little bit of a little information about our youth.
Also, how easily like led they are. You could get them to that app.
Well, clout
All
is
you
the
have to do
currency.
It's clout, but it's
Yeah.
they have so many things going for them. First of all, it's very easy to get a big following there. It's very easy to get shared.
Instantaneous, it
You
feels.
can blow up,
Yeah.
so that gets people excited about it and they use it. And
Yeah.
it's genuinely a really good portal for creativity. Like some people do some interesting shit on there.
It's amazing. I almost think it's our fault it's successful because we didn't think of it.
Yeah.
Like we need some responsibility here. Like why is another country coming up with the best form of social media? That's on us. We dominated social.
That's Adam Curry's theory.
What do you say?
Adam Curry doesn't believe it's any different in the way it gathers data than what the American
It's
social
just a
media
better
platforms.
distributor of that data.
He just thinks that, no, this is just China kicking our ass,
Yep.
and we want to stop them from doing that.
Yeah.
That we're not doing things that are that much different than what
Yeah.
they're doing. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's true.
Well, I don't know.
It's just Adam is very smart, though.
Yeah, no, I think that there's something to that. It's like you want to win the culture war, and we've done that so well, right? Like we had all these movies, these TV shows that like shared our culture around the world, and that culture was romantic. It's sexy. You go
my
watch
God.
fucking Top Gun. You go watch Maverick, and you're just like, oh my God, how amazing is it to be American?
How about when Rocky wins with American shorts on? Got American flag shorts on?
Best. Away game too. You know what I mean? Like over there running in the
Russians are
snow.
cheering
Like,
for 'em.
yeah. If we can change, you can change. We all change. 30 years later, same fucking problem.
Same fucking problem. Bro, I remember when that problem went away. I
Wait,
remember
really?
when the wall came down, we were so relaxed. It was amazing.
Wait,
because-
take me back to this. So there's
All
a
right, see,
time.
when I was in high school,
Yeah.
okay, in the 1980s, I was a freshman in 1981, and back then we were terrified of war with Russia. It was a terrifying fear of a nuclear war with the Soviet Union.
and break this down to me. So it's like, is it you're watching the news and is there like fear mongering? Do you believe it? Does it feel less propagandist?
100% there was fear mongering. Look, it's always been if it bleeds, it leads in the news. You know, we talk about how bad the news is today, but the reality is, like 5 o'clock news, when you get home from work, it was always the worst shit that happened. Double homicide in Brooklyn. It's always the worst shit of the day. And also out of perspective, because it's the worst shit out of millions and millions of people, right? But the big one was always Russia. And you would see the Soviet Union, and, you know, you would see their leaders, and you would see their army, and it was terrifying. They were the last great communist empire, you know, before China, right? Before China really blew up militarily. Back then, we weren't worried about China. Everybody was worried about the Soviet Union.
And you felt fear as a youth.
100%. I talked to my wife, and she's younger than me, and she felt the same thing. And some of my other friends, I asked them, they grew up in different parts of the country, and they were like, oh, yeah, everyone was scared of the fucking Russians, man. Like, there was all those movies like Red Dawn where the Russians invade, we kick their fucking ass, send them back home. You know, that was what everybody was afraid of. And then the wall fell. And so when the wall fell and the Soviet Union collapsed, we have to realize, like, that was a monumental change in the world. People relaxed. Like, we relaxed. I was like, thank God, there's no more war anymore.
So what year is this?
What year was the collapse of the wall? What year did they blow? I want to say 89, 90.
So then the 90s comes on, and then
what year was it, Jamie? 89.
Okay, so 90s.
So the 90s come along, and no one's worried about war anymore.
Yes. Is there a cultural apathy? Because
Well,
the
there's
90s.
a lot of bad things were made in the 90s. Some of the worst American cars that have ever existed were made during the 90s. We got real sloppy in the 90s. I look at, like, one of the things I look about with America, like how in tune America is what's their
the
cars
automobiles?
like? What's their cars like?
So Space Race produces some of the most beautiful cars ever.
Space race and psychedelic drugs.
So
There's
Space Race
a
is what?
direct correlation
60s?
between yes.
So you have all the cars that are coming out.
50s too.
50s,
Because
60s.
63 was when Kennedy says we want to put the first man on the moon.
So they're using all that crazy space influence, or like spaceship influence, on the cars, and there's no restrictions, right?
Not much space influence really.
I mean, some of these big, like, what is it, the big Cadillacs and stuff like that, they look like a fucking
they
spaceship,
do,
right?
yeah, the old ones.
And there was no restrictions,
Yeah.
right? Like, you didn't have to go, okay, it has to have this much gas mileage.
Right,
or
none of that.
You could
No
just make whatever the
airbags.
fuck you wanted to make. And then, okay, so that goes away, and then psychedelics are 70s.
Well,
I'm trying to think-
psychedelics are 60s.
Oh, yes.
And then in 1970, they passed this sweeping Schedule 1 psychedelic act that makes all those drugs Schedule 1 forbidden drugs. All the drugs that are non-toxic, like psilocybin, like things that your body makes, like dimethyltryptamine, all those things
That's
become
DMT.
Yeah, all those things become Schedule 1. And then automobile design drops off a fucking cliff.
That's funny.
I mean, drops off
That's
a cliff.
funny.
It's not totally. I mean, there's a correlation. It's maybe not totally the cause because it coincides with the gas crisis. So there's a gas crisis. Where
Now
they're
you
like,
have to
there's a
consider gas
shortage.
mileage in a car.
Exactly.
That's interesting. That's right. So 70s is what happens? When do we remove the gold standard from the dollar? That's
a good question.
73 or something like that?
This is good tequila, dude. This is yours?
Not bad. Yeah.
What's it called?
Los Sundays.
Dude,
It's good,
very
right?
tasty.
The repo is crazy.
Yeah, it's very tasty.
Yeah.
I was prepared for some fucking antifreeze.
No.
That's good.
They're legit. But yeah, and then we get, what is it? There's the whole like petrodollar thing that comes on after that where they have to.
I'm not aware of all that stuff. I'm not good at that stuff.
I think this is just where we make the deal where it's like oil has to be sold in U.S. dollars. And now we have a backing for the dollar when for a while we didn't, right? When we removed that gold standard. Who was it? Nixon removed the gold standard? 71. But and now we're in that situation right now where, most, oil is sold in US dollars, and then those countries that decide not to, if we're going to get conspiratorial, those people who have decided maybe they won't sell it, in US dollars, they have difficulty staying in power.
Yeah. That's always been the game plan, right?
Yeah.
FDR did it in 33. But then also Nixon did it. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
What does that mean then? How's it? We should have to a real economist work through this. We'll fuck this up.
But also, we could just talk shit, and it doesn't matter because we're not experts. So we just spit
exactly.
nonsense.
It's so funny that people get upset by that. Like, listen, this is a conversation that I would have whether or not cameras are on or not. So you just
Don't
got to
take
be
us
able.
seriously.
Yeah, you got to be able to deal with that.
That's it. Don't take anything we say seriously,
bro.
That's
Especially us.
Yeah.
We're,
Well,
we're
that was
literal professional clowns.
Yeah. I was messaging you, I think, about after we had Ben Van Kerkwick on the pod, and Uncharted X, the guy who was the pyramid.
Yes,
and,
he's great.
He's great, and everybody was like, "Dude, it's so awesome." Shane Gillis's dad showed up to the pod, and I was like, "What?" And I guess they think that he looks like Shane, an older version of Shane. But what I loved about the pyramid conspiracy is that the stakes are so low. Right? There's no pedophilia.
Nothing.
Nobody's dying.
Nothing.
It's like, did it happen? Did it not happen?
It's just, how old is this civilization?
That's it. Is it 4,000? Is it 10,000?
But do you know that even with that, because Graham Hancock has a whole series.
They call you racist and
He's
shit
calling
like
him
that.
racist.
I'm not saying that black people didn't still do it. It's just older black people.
100% was black people.
Yeah.
It was 100% people in Africa. The pyramids were 100% built by people who lived in Africa.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
All Graham Hancock is saying is that it's very likely that the entire world experienced a cataclysmic disaster around 11,800, 12,000 years ago, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
And it knocked us back into the Stone Age.
Dude,
but those people who were around before that were probably more sophisticated than we are. We just have a hard time imagining that.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any evidence of it.
And we just don't think that the execution matches up with the technology. If we found some tech that would make sense, I think that we could go, okay, maybe this did happen 4,000 years ago, or whatever it is. But so far, the idea of like a chisel and a stone carving all these blocks and then people just dragging them in the sand, I think it seems a little bit
There's some real
unreasonable.
problems with that.
Yeah.
There's some real problems with the actual physical limitations of the size of these obelisks where they're cutting them in the mountains and they have to move them hundreds of miles. How are you getting them out of the mountains? Like, what are you doing? This is like 2,000 tons. Like, what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah. You said it, I think I was listening to the pod with you guys and you were like, if I was Elon Musk, I'd just build one. And I get that to a certain extent.
I don't know if you could. I really don't know if you could.
I think we could.
Do you know if you cut and place 10 stones a day, it would take you 664 years to make the pyramid? That might be wrong. But there's 2,300,000 stones in the Great Pyramid.
You need to go, man.
I know, I do.
You need to go. It was the craziest thing that I've seen that humans have made. Like, awe-inspiring.
Talking to Ben, talking to Randall Carlson, talking to Graham Hancock, I more and more think that we just have to use our imagination.
Yeah.
Because we're thinking of technology only as technology that we've implemented, like these microphones and cell phones and shit. But it's possible there was a completely different branch of technology, and they had figured out something that allowed them to manipulate enormous stones.
Yeah.
We just haven't figured it out yet.
I mean, just think about it like this. Like, imagine there was this cataclysm, right? Within 100 years, like, this idea of Wi-Fi is non-existent to people.
Non-existent.
It's a story that you tell. So wait, what do you mean? The internet? Yeah, exactly. It's just absurd. It doesn't exist. You can't hold on to it.
Right.
So right now we're looking for all these tools that you can hold on to and can build things with. And that makes sense to us. But we can't conceive of this like technology that existed just in the air.
Yeah.
How would you describe Wi-Fi to some dude that you met in an Amazonian tribe?
You wouldn't.
You couldn't.
You couldn't.
It's the same way that, like, do you fuck with the Chat GPT thing at all?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even know what to ask it because I'm not familiar enough with what AI can do. So I would still ask it like Google questions because that's what I'm fluent in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think you can talk to Chat GPT-4 as if it's a god.
So I would just... Oh, I got some questions.
Right? Am I close?
Sure.
Maybe Chat GPT-5.
Can we
tell
Chat GPT now?
If you tell it it's a god, it'll definitely start talking to you.
Wait, can we
like it is.
talk to it now?
Yeah, you can talk to it. Hey, you know who invented Wi-Fi?
Who?
Hedy Lamarr.
Who's
The
that?
actress. That's true, right? It's not Bluetooth, right? It was Wi-Fi she invented. Is that correct? Hedy Lamarr, who was this gorgeous actress, was a brilliant woman who like had quite a few inventions.
Technically both.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Although she died in 2000, Lamar was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame for the development of her frequency hopping technology in 2014. She did it way before 2014, though. Such achievement has led Lamar to be dubbed the mother of Wi-Fi and other wireless communications like GPS and Bluetooth.
Wait, and why did she invent this? For playback or something like that?
No, I think she was a scientist before she was an actress. She was just hot, and no one gave a fuck.
I mean, she is
She was
stunning.
so hot. Yeah, she was so hot.
Is that a function of our age?
Do you know Leah Lamar, the stand-up?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
That's her relative?
Relative, yes.
Wow.
Because I had this bit about Hedy Lamar in my act.
And Leah had to talk to you
And
about it.
Leah came up to me and she goes, I think
That's
it's her.
my grandma.
I think it's either her grandmother or her great aunt or something like that. It's one of those. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's why. You know, and Leah's beautiful too. It's like, but Hedy Lamar was a smoke show.
Yeah.
Back when, you know, they were dragging women around by their hair back then. Like
Really?
Dark ages. Yeah, that's like slapping women in the movies was standard.
Yeah, there was early Bond films
Oh, God.
were wild, man.
You ever see Steve McQueen smack the shit out of, who was it, Ally, who was the woman he did that movie with? Ally Sheedy, is that who it was? I forget who it was, the actress, but
And just
there's
in
a
a
scene
scene
where
he
he's
slaps her around.
beating her fucking ass. It's horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he's actually hitting her. And
Yeah.
you could tell, like, she probably didn't know it was coming, and she's
Yeah.
got to be in the moment.
Yeah.
Ali McGraw.
Ally
Ally
McGraw.
McGraw.
Yeah. It's horrible to watch, dude. Like but this was like how men behaved.
Oh,
Like
this is the woman. This is the actress. Did you watch the what is that show about the making of The Godfather?
No, I didn't see that.
What
I
was
know
the
what you're
name?
talking about, but I didn't.
Oh, it was brilliant. Okay, yeah.
Why is the perspective all fucked
I'm
up?
not sure.
The perspective, everyone's all narrow. Everyone has narrow heads and shit. It's too bad. She was a beautiful woman. Give me some volume.
Oh, you don't have headphones on.
Oh, okay. It's
playing.
okay. You don't have to give me.
It's actually playing Smack My Bitch Up.
This
by
is horrible, man.
Rogan.
Like he's actually hitting her. Watch this. He's actually hitting her, and he's threatening to punch her in the face.
Yeah.
And she starts crying, and he hits her again.
How
Bro,
common?
this was normal back then.
I'm wondering like how common when you were a kid was
was
it to
normal.
see like a man hit a woman?
I think it was normal. I think for all of human history, it was normal until people started watching it and
then
going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
until media came along,
Yeah.
and you could see. I think people hit their kids. I think people hit their wives. I
Yeah.
think people hit each other.
What was the transition though?
Media,
So
because people got to see it.
yeah. And you just got to see it. You didn't see what the kid did to get hit.
Right.
You just see the kid getting hit. You're
see
like,
a
how
kid get
could
hit.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to hit kids.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to hit
You would
kids to
never
teach them
discipline.
things. Never. You don't have to do that. They want you to love them.
Okay, question.
They make mistakes. You got to communicate with them.
I have a question about that. What about when they are? How do you communicate with a child before he understands verbal commands? And how do you communicate right from wrong?
Well, I mean, before they understand verbal commands, you're talking about babies, right? They don't really. I mean, they can't even walk yet. They start
Yeah.
talk. My daughter started talking when she was 9 months old.
Is that early?
Yeah, she's walking then too. She was walking and talking very early. One of my daughters, but the other one was like a year. But what I'm saying is, like when they're verbal commands or just learning things, like they're babies. They can't do anything.
Yeah.
They can't even run away from you. Like
Yeah.
they're little tiny babies.
So at that age, you're not even
toddlers.
teaching right from wrong.
You're
You're just kind of.
You are. But you're talking to them. You know, you talk to them with like sweetness, but you always talk. I always try to talk to my children
Yeah.
like they are an adult that I respect.
Yeah, you're very sweet with the youth,
It's like I think it's important.
but it's a side of you that I don't know a lot of people see. Like you had your niece at the club
Oh,
the
yeah.
other night, and you were so sweet with her, and it was a cool side to see. The club is just fantastic.
Club's
man.
wild, right?
It was so cool.
It's a dream, dude.
I know, and
It's a dream that I didn't even have. I didn't even have that dream. I didn't want to own a club.
Yeah, no comic goes into it going, "I want to own a club,"
Yeah.
and then you do it. But it was an interesting thing. Like I had this weird sensation. I said to you yesterday, but I was just like, I'm like proud of you, but I don't mean that in like a I don't know patronizing way. Like I'm genuinely proud of you. But there's a specific thing, and I was thinking about this last night when I went back about the club. And you kept talking about like this way of like funneling and nurturing talent. you're like, yeah, these are the comics that are going to come up, and we're going to invest in these like local Texas comics, and then they're going to go do these shows around the world or around the country. And we're going to send, this is the Mothership. The Mothership presents, and it's in all these comedy clubs around. And I thought of the club, and I did both of the rooms, and the rooms do separate things for comedic growth that is really important.
Yeah.
That little room teaches intimacy and connection.
Yeah.
You can't just go up there and say words.
Right.
You have to connect with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes in big rooms, you can just say words. And you don't have to connect because the connection is a little bit off. There's a little bit of a filter, so you can perform, which is another thing you have to learn. But the small rooms, which is a lot of the times the New York guys that we get really good at, is like those laughs die quick. So you better tag up that joke. You better punch it up hard. You better make sure you're cooking. There's like a pace that you can kind of build.
Yeah.
So the small room, they get to learn how to really fucking put your foot on somebody.
You know, another thing that comes out of these rooms on the East Coast is the cold weather. Cold weather makes people impatient. They don't want to hear your bullshit. It's freezing outside. They want to go. Jesus fucking Christ. They get inside.
Dude.
They don't want to you'd be lollygagging.
Mark was saying that same shit. He's like, if you even think about like music and like rap in New York, bar.
Yes.
And in the South, it's melodic and easy and chill and beautiful for both reasons. But I thought about this more, and then I did the big room first, and I'm not gonna be like, I was concerned about the big room.
You were concerned.
Because you said to me something about the big room. You were like, it was fun, but you said to me, you were like, it's the most honest room.
But you're honestly hilarious.
Yeah, but
so there's no issues.
But that word, honest, is usually used when like, let's have an honest conversation. It's never like, you're beautiful.
Thing.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Babe, can I be honest with you?
You're beautiful.
You're gorgeous. Like,
you're amazing.
That's never, right? So I was like, that's an interesting adjective to use to describe the room.
Yeah.
And then I went up, and it was awesome. And there was an energy, and there was an excitement, and the room was great. And it also offered this other side of stand-up that I think a lot of people that come up in the small rooms don't necessarily develop the skill set until they're on the road, which is filling space. And it was like, you can learn to step on them. And that's how I came up in New York, and just boom, 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 boom. And then you go do 3,000 seats. How are you going to fill that?
Yeah.
How are you going to absorb that? And I was watching Ron White go up there, and that's a perfect example of just like kinetic energy. You're just watching him fuck. He's like the Black Panther suit. You know what I mean? Just like absorbing everything,
Bro,
and then push back.
That dude hits and holds punchlines better than anybody alive.
Masterful.
He hits them, and he has a big ass fucking smile on his face. And
You know him and like Tony Woods. You ever watch Tony Woods?
God, yeah.
Those guys are masters at just absorb, and then like, I don't know. I just feel like if that goal is, which what you said yesterday is like really nurturing this talent and like creating comedians that can be great comedians, you've built a space that can do that.
Yeah, we built it specifically for that.
Yeah,
so
cool.
instead of like making it so that there's big name headliners and you charge a lot of money for every ticket, instead of making money that way, what we decided to do is just don't think about that.
Yeah.
Just think about what's the best place to develop comedy, and how do we develop comedy properly? Well, one, you have to have open mics 2 nights a week. So we have open mics Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
And then we also have experimental shows where like crowd suggestions, they write them down on a piece of
bottom
paper.
of the barrel.
Brian Simpson show.
Brian Simpson show, dude,
Yeah.
that was. And then you get bits from it. Like the beauty
get
of those
bits.
shows
Yeah.
is I think there's a Jeremiah has one, the stand up on the spot
Yes.
too. Like, and it's like you get bits from that because you're liberated, right? The audience knows that you're just getting this idea.
Yeah.
And that you're rolling with it. And
They
it's
used to have
stream of
one out here
conscious.
called The Riff that was good too. It's a wheel.
Yeah.
You spin a wheel and it would roll,
Love.
and you'd like pick a card and it'll like land on a card.
Love.
That was a good move too. It's like the whole idea is to be able to you just, it's like a premise factory.
Yeah.
It's just like pumping out premises.
Yeah.
And you never fucking know, man. I've had some bits that became like real good bits that I got out of doing those kind of shows.
Yeah, I don't want to say the one we were talking about yesterday, so you could develop. But that's gonna be one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's those feelings sometimes where you say a line, you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be something. I really want to tell everybody. They'll hear it eventually.
fun.
It's a good fucking line. Do you want to give it away?
No,
give it away.
I gotta keep that.
But it was just, it was just cool, man. There's an energy There's an energy.
Well,
for you.
everybody is working towards the right thing.
Can
right?
you talk about? I think you're gonna fuck the game up with the pay too. Can we talk about
Let's
that?
not talk about that. We don't need to talk about that. People don't need to know what people getting paid.
You are a good man and you care about comedians.
It's
I'll say that. You
I had
won't say it,
Well, thank you
but
very
I will
much.
say it for you. And you're gonna fuck some people up with this shit.
Well, the whole idea is just to make the best possible place for stand-ups to perform.
What
That's
Joe's
the
trying to
best
say is the
possible
whole
place.
idea is for him to make no money.
Yeah.
It's for comedians to make all the goddamn
Well,
money.
my idea is to make it so that look, my only goal is the club break even.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care if it makes money. I
Yeah.
make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm
Do
not
you?
worried about money.
Have-
Yeah.
have-
I don't
have you
worry
done
about
okay?
money.
Yeah.
I don't worry about money.
Yeah.
But I worry
I shot a bow
about
and arrow inside today. I
40
know you're doing
yards.
okay.
But it's like, so that's not what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in is like, what would be the best case scenario? You know, I always talk about when we were kids, if someone said, oh, if you had all this money, what would you do? Well, I'd make the best fucking comedy club and I'd set it up just for comedians.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why don't you just do that?
Yeah.
So I just did it.
Yeah.
That was
it's
it.
crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the staff's awesome.
Yeah.
We got the best people from the Comedy Store.
I mean, I already told you I was going to come down when you opened. And but I will say after that week, like the energy that I saw from it, I was like, oh wow, yeah, something's going on over here.
Yeah, something's going on.
But I listen, I was also one of these people who are like, Austin can't sustain a comedy club. There's not enough people. I think I told you that. I was
Yeah,
like,
but-
I didn't know if it was possible. Now, granted, you have a pretty good batting average with the things you care about. Like so far, I think you're batting like 1,000% on the things that you want to do.
Well, if you really like something and
Yeah.
you do it, it's infectious.
Yeah.
You know, if you really love what you do, it's infectious.
But I think with Austin specifically, one of the things I didn't realize is that like comedy is the professional sport here. You don't have a basketball team. You don't have a football team. You have
We
a
got
college football
a
team.
dope soccer team.
You got a soccer team, right?
Yeah.
But for people who are not gay, there's there's
Oh,
you
no.
wanna run around kicking balls all day. That's fine. But comedy, I feel like, is the professional sport here, and the people who are in that ecosystem have become the professional athletes.
Well, for people who are comedy fans, imagine that this happens. Imagine if you're a comedy fan and the whole world shuts down, but Texas doesn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And then people are like looking at Texas like, how are they partying over there? What the fuck's going on over there? And then some people come and visit. And then, you know, maybe some people know people who got sick and got better real quick. And
Yeah.
maybe some people start getting skeptical. And maybe some people start saying, well, I haven't been sick in 10 fucking years. Am I the same as some fat guy who smokes cigarettes? Like, what the fuck is going on here? And you get a little upset. And then the government continues to keep you shut down. You go, you know what? I'm going to go look at Texas. And then you fly out here and you convince 12 world-class comedians to move here too. Now, if I was a comedy fan and I was living around here, I'd be like, holy shit, what is happening?
That's true.
Because that's never happened before.
Yeah.
All the scenes in our lifetime and in our predecessors' lifetimes were isolated. There was the Boston scene, which is like a scene that guys would get really good at, but the good ones would leave. The Burrs and the Nick DiPaolos and the Mees and the Dane Cooks and everybody would leave. You know, Louis C.K.,
Patrice, Louis.
Patrice, you know, they would all, Stephen Wright, they'd all leave, right?
Yeah.
But it was an amazing breeding ground.
Yeah.
And then there was the New York scene, which is like A scene, and LA scene, which is like A minus.
Yeah.
Like New York was generally better quality
Because
of
there was
comics.
no other opportunity for anything else.
Yeah. But LA had the occasional Dom Irrera would stop in
course.
but there was only those scenes. San
Yeah.
Francisco was always a little shaky.
Yeah.
It never really had like a rock solid, big, booming scene. But Austin does now. Like it does.
Isn't that
And it
crazy?
didn't before. It was a small scene before.
Yeah.
It was a good scene. You know, like some good comics came out of here. Brendan Walsh came out of here. You know, like Hicks, Kinnison, they were in Houston and here. But that was a long time ago. That was the 80s.
What do you think it is? Like all my favorite comics are from Boston, and I've been trying to like understand why that is.
Because we grew up in a place where it's cold and no one gives a fuck, and the women are very mean.
Dude, No, there's something to that. Like when the women also have a sense of humor,
Yeah.
your mediocre sense of humor isn't
Not good enough.
good enough.
Not good enough.
You can't get laid with just regular jokes. The girl's already funny. Scotland's like this.
Yeah.
Like all my
I
like
bet Ireland,
aunts and
too.
everything. It's like they are ball busters. Like
Yeah.
I had to learn comedy as like a defense mechanism because my aunts were ruthless, ruthless, just roasting my brother, me, and we were just sitting there like, okay, I got to find a way to like
that's
handle this
funny.
shit.
That's funny.
But yeah, and I've always wondered that with Boston. And I asked a dude once, and I was like, why do you think it is? And he said the same thing. But he also said, like, there's an arrogance to Boston, too. Like,
Yeah.
this is where the nation began. Like, there's a, what is that? They're like the aristocrats. They're like the original aristocrats. Like, a guy who's, like, roofing in Boston still is like, yeah, but I'm from Boston. Like, and I wonder if you need that arrogance to also say the things that you want to say. Sometimes you could be crippled by working class environments where you're like, I'm not any better than anybody in this town. I'm not any better than just my friends. I shouldn't go on stage and say that. Like, who do I think I am to go talk in front of these people? You need a little bit of bravado to even go after it.
There's so many variables and so many factors, but one of the factors is you need like a group of guys that are dedicated to comedy and are really getting after it, and they set the bar for everybody else. That was what was happening in Boston. It was Barry Crimmins. I remember Barry Crimmins became my friend, but I was fucking terrified of that dude.
Why?
Because he was the standard bearer. He would not let any hacks in. He would be angry at you if you were a hack. He was very well versed politically. You couldn't have some bullshit argument conversation with Barry Crimmins. He would destroy you. He was ruthless, and he was really fucking funny. And he was just like, he had great political material, great social material. He was a working class guy.
Yeah.
And he set the standard. He was the fucking man in Boston. Dude, bro, I was scared of him. I wanted to avoid him. Like, I'd fucking go around because I thought I was an open micer. I sucked.
Yeah.
And then when Barry Crimmins became my friend and told me he thought I was really funny, I was like, oh,
Best day.
thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Because he was the guy. He was like he was smarter than everybody else. That's Barry. He was smarter than everybody else.
And he had the highest standard of comedy.
He had the highest standard of comedy, and
Yeah.
he was a mentor for the rest of the group.
So you see guys that pop up like that in comedy, like Keith Robinson is another one. Do you know
Oh,
Keith?
yeah, he's ruthless.
And he is
Ruthless.
He is ruthless. He has the highest standard of comedy. He's absolutely hilarious, and he genuinely loves helping and putting people on.
100%.
And it's rare that you get that concoction.
He's beautiful.
He is like I don't know if people even know the stories of him like driving fucking Kev up from Philly and driving a bunch of guys up from Philly and being like, hey, you need to come up here. You need to be in New York because people are going to find out about you and you're fucking great.
That's beautiful.
And dude, he's had 2 strokes
I know.
and he's funnier.
I heard he's hilarious because he's just like going for it.
Bro.
Because it's like he's dying.
He don't get. I wish I could say some of this.
I
shit
know.
that
I know
Off,
some of it.
off.
It was in the
Bro.
Yeah, it was in the Mitzies the other day. Everybody was quoting shit. I was holding
Bro.
my sides.
It is,
Wild.
and you can't refute it because he's not just saying wild shit to be wild. He's coming from this place where it's like I
Yeah.
had these strokes,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude.
And killing.
I told him it's
Killing.
funny. I told him I think they stroked you up. Like I think it's like it's a benefit in a way.
Isn't it funny that it's almost like you need something like that to be truly free? Sometimes. I did a theater in Miami once, and Wanda Sykes and Keith were on before me, and they both left me notes. I was waving to them on the way in. They were waving on the way. What's up? What's up? They both left me notes. Wanda was the sweetest, nicest note.
Yeah.
It was great to see you. I hope you have a great set. You know, much love.
Yeah.
Keith Robinson says, I hope you have the worst set of your fucking life. I hope you bomb in front of your stupid fans.
dude?
I saved that. I have that napkin. I still have that napkin.
It's interesting. It's like you're making me think about comedy scenes and like what makes it good. You need a standard bearer.
It helps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
yeah.
multiple standard bearers would be ideal.
Yeah.
But you definitely need at least one person. You need someone who people will listen to.
That they respect.
Yeah.
But maybe isn't in the stratosphere. Like maybe they're not, fucking superstar, megastar, movie star, but just as purely respected because of their stand-up.
That helps. That way there's less jealousy.
Yes.
Here's the other thing about it is though that like in Barry's time, comedy was new. We really have to understand our art form in a historical perspective. What do you want? This? In a historical perspective, because our art form really didn't even branch off into what you and I do until Lenny Bruce. So what is Lenny Bruce? His era is like late 50s, early 60s, and into like when did Lenny die? When he died, the end of Lenny's career. And by the way, I'm a giant Lenny Bruce fan. I mean, if you go walk into my club, one of the first things you see is a big-ass picture of Lenny Bruce. So he died in 1966. And you have to understand, like, the last couple years of his life were completely entangled in legal battles. Yeah. So, like, the Lenny Bruce that we're talking about. So, like, late 50s, this guy literally invents an art form. Because it just didn't really exist that way. I mean, Mark Twain did some spoken word stuff where he read some of his books and he was apparently very funny. And people talk about maybe Mark Twain was like the first stand-up, the first guy to do stand-up. But then there was guys who just did jokes, and they would like tell like two Jews walking to a bar,
like
those
the
kind of
Borscht Belt
jokes.
comedians that were coming
comedians.
up, yeah, the
and
Catskills.
They would all steal from each other. They would all
it was
have,
like house jokes.
Yeah, house jokes. A lot of house jokes. There was a lot of really dumb shit, and then but funny, good times, whatever.
And there was guys who could deliver in an amazing way.
Buddy Hackett, there were some of those guys that were killers. They were killers. Very funny guys, but it's just like, what were they
very
working
different
with?
Than
they were working with Stone Tools. Okay. And so
yeah.
then along comes Lenny Bruce, and Lenny Bruce
he just breaks the mold.
He starts looking at
starts
society. He starts looking at culture and sex and racism and drugs.
The
and
race stuff that he has holds up today. There are jokes that he's told.
Today.
There's a joke, because I think he would go on a road with a black dude who was like a jazz musician that I think would open for him. And he would talk about the Frenchman. He'd talk about white people trying to ingratiate themselves to his black friend. And like the awkwardness that white people have, and like the examples he's using, like maybe today we'd be like are kind of hacky, but like for the first person to ever say it, to like see white people trying to win over a black person. Like, so we have some watermelon at the party. Would you like some watermelon? Like that's a line that he has in it, and it's just like, but he's observing whites at a time where whites are probably integrating with blacks way more often and then not really knowing how to do it, and that awkwardness. And then you got this guy, Lenny Bruce, who just fucking likes this guy. Not that he's black. He just likes this guy. He enjoys the music. He enjoys who he is. And he's observing other people that just are the only thing they can see him as is a black dude. They can't see past that. So the only way that they can relate is what they know about black people.
Yeah.
And now you see that same joke. You see the white people awkward around black people. That starts there.
Yeah. Well, Richard took that. Like Pryor did that after Lenny did that. Pryor was like the better version of Lenny. What Pryor was like what Lenny had started. Yeah. Pryor was like, I got this. I'm gonna take this to a new place.
I appreciate you.
I'm gonna take this to a new place. I'm gonna make it way funnier.
Yeah.
And what Pryor did, it was like self-deprecating. It was way funnier.
It was bleeding.
Lenny was very funny, but we have to take it in the context of the times. If we were back in the Lenny Bruce days, if you and I were us right now, and we were sitting at our ages right now, and we were just like regular guys, and we're sitting in the back of the room in 1957, and we see Lenny go up and break down culture and society, we'd be like, what is
going
fuck,
on?
man? We'd be dying laughing. He had this joke about gays. It's such a great joke.
This is the 60s?
50s, probably. I mean, he died in 63, is that what it was?
Yeah.
66? What was it? 66. So maybe early 60s.
Okay.
So he has this joke, and he goes, dig, they make homosexuality illegal. So what do? They arrest you, and they put you in jail with a bunch of men who want to have sex with you.
They're testing you?
He broke that shit down in like 58.
What a punishment. Yeah.
And bro, it would murder. People would be like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then people thinking about, like, everybody always knows the dude's got fucked in jail.
Yeah.
Like, that's how.
Genius.
Yeah. So
He's
it's like back then saying that though on stage when everybody else like 2 Jews walk into a bar, and Lenny was like breaking things down, talking about language and the culture and music and life and the romance.
That's interesting you say Twain, that you talk about Twain. And yeah, you do see it with the writers that have like a comedic twist and their ability to kind of like analyze culture but not turning it into stand-up.
They could though. It's like a lot of them really could.
Yeah.
It just said they would have to just learn how to deliver it, which
that's
is
the
not
other
the
thing.
hardest part because the writing is like some of the hardest part.
Yeah, but sometimes like I've noticed this with writers that they're so prolific on the page, but when they try to communicate it, it's a different art form almost. It's like the ideas are there, they just don't understand like how to hold attention the same way.
Well, you know what it is? They're out of shape. It's like when I think it's a thing.
It's like playing
'cause
pickup
the more
basketball
stand-up I
after-
do, the
yeah.
looser I get on stage.
Yeah.
The looser I get on stage, the more fun I have on stage. The more fun I have on stage, the more I'm inventing new stuff.
Yeah.
The more sets you do, the better you get.
Yeah.
It's just real numbers.
Yeah.
And if you're a guy who's like this awkward fellow who sits in front of a ThinkPad all day, and he's just like writing on Microsoft Word, writing very
Now
funny
here's 300
things.
people.
And,
This is
you
gonna be
know,
uncomfortable.
occasionally you talk to your wife like, what do you want to do for dinner? You know, like you're awkward. Yeah. You're very brilliant, but you're alone in front of your computer.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have to go in front of people and deliver these ideas.
Yeah.
You have to learn how the delivery thing. You have to put in the reps.
Yeah.
You have to it's a lot of reps.
Yeah.
It seems way more simple than it is.
Yeah.
It seems when a person's up there, like I was watching you last night.
Yeah.
It's like he's just talking.
Yeah.
Like, why is it so funny?
Yeah.
Like, that's how people look at it. Like, why is this guy so funny? Like, he's just talking. I talk too.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yes.
I know how to talk.
Yeah.
But they don't understand.
They don't understand it.
Like, you're just doing this magic show for them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they think it's just talking.
Isn't that wild that like it doesn't start as just talking, and ideally we can break it down to the point where that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Like it starts in our head. There's like a premise, and there's a line, or there's a statement, or there's like I'm thinking of that joke that we won't say that you have, and it's just like that's just a statement. That's a feeling, you know. I was talking to my boy Mark, and I was just like, let's just like riff, but don't tell me a single joke. Tell me what you feel. Tell me what is causing anxiety or anger. Don't try to make me laugh. Just tell me what you feel. And every time, that is the joke.
Yeah.
The punchlines will come and they'll insert themselves. But that you're not going, how can I make this situation funny? That is how you fucking feel. And that's why we laughed at it. That's why you'll say it in front of a group of comics and we all laugh. Not because you're trying to misdirect us, not because you're trying to trick us. That's how you feel. And we're all going, yeah, Joe kind of does feel like that. I might feel like that a little bit.
Depends on the lady.
Now you're giving it away. But yeah, that's, I don't know. That's to me like, that's the beauty of like a great joke or like a great premise is the one where it's like you almost stumble into it.
Yeah.
You're like emotionally engaged in it so much you're not even trying.
You almost have
the
to
laugh.
think of it like musical notes. Like there's all kinds of musical notes. They're all good.
Yeah.
But they just serve different purposes. And to make a great song, you got to put them all together where it flows. And that's like part of what we're doing too.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to have those jokes. It's like that's how you feel.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have some jokes where you take people down a left turn like, whoops. Yeah. And what about that? Yeah. And they're like, ah!
Yeah.
You know, like that's a part of it too. It's like there's a lot of stuff going on when you're doing comedy.
I almost think I memorize. Like people go, how do you memorize all the words? And it's like, I don't think I memorize the words. I think I memorize the song.
Yeah, how it sounds.
Yeah, and like
when
how
you're
it
doing
feels and the rhythm of it. And I think that's why like sometimes when you like adjust to different room sizes, like your rhythm can get off and you go, oh, I forgot that section. Yeah, because the song is different. Yeah. The song is slower, the song is faster. But I memorized the song in this, was it pace or syncopation or whatever it is, this rhythm. Now it's a different rhythm. I need to memorize it in this different rhythm.
Yeah. Arena timing.
That's a
a
perfect
real
example.
thing.
Well, I've never done arenas, but like,
Well, I want you to.
yeah. So
We'll do them together.
let's
go.
do it.
Let's fucking go.
I mean,
Andrew.
what a crazy.
Let's go.
That
Let's
would be
do
a
it.
crazy.
Let's
that would be
fucking
crazy.
go. Come on, man. We'll have
So what happens? Is
we'll have
it
some fun.
slowed? Is
There's
it
so
like,
many people.
So do you find yourself
like some punchlines you have to hang on to for a little bit.
Interesting.
But also like facial expressions are bigger, you know, and then there's giant screens everywhere where your face is, where people could see it, and we're all together. And when you're in the round is the shit.
Are you
because
actively
it's
turning?
Intimate. Yeah.
So you're going, okay, I face this way a lot. Let me give energy.
No. Just go.
It just flows.
Just go. No thinking like that. But it's just like you're in the round, so it's actually intimate.
Yeah.
It's like as intimate as you can get, like 16,000 people stuffed in together.
Yeah.
Because they're all looking at the people that are on the other side, and we're all together. It's not like a wall and a stage.
Yeah.
It's way more intimate.
Yeah.
It's like double intimate because you're surrounded. It feels good. It's fun. It's my favorite way to do shows.
Really?
Yes. My favorite way. Yeah.
Huh.
It's my favorite way.
Huh.
I mean, you can't do 16,000 people all the time. It's not good for your comedy.
Right.
What happens is you're not going to invent new lines. You're going to stick to your script.
Yeah.
You're going to stick to the bits. There's
Yeah.
too many people.
Yeah.
It's too big. It's a show.
Yeah.
Right? It's
I
a
agree with
show.
that.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
When you're doing Little Boy, that little tiny room
That's
that we
where
have.
we play. That's where we find
That
something.
room
That's
is-
where we.
These are your friends.
Yeah.
We're fucking around. We're having a couple of drinks. We're talking some shit. They
you can
want
touch
you.
everybody in there. Yeah.
They want you to talk some shit. They want you to explore.
Yeah.
And that's
Be
the
naughty.
real comedy fans know because
Yeah.
of these kind of conversations that's how we come up with bits.
Yes.
That's where premises emerge.
Yeah.
The creativity is this fucking you can't grab it.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is. You don't
Yeah.
know how it comes or how it doesn't come, but
Yeah.
you got to respect it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why that, War of Art book is so good, man.
What's the War
Stephen
of Art book?
Pressfield's book. Stephen Pressfield, he's been on the podcast a couple of times. He wrote this book called The War of Art. And it's all about resistance and how resistance keeps you from achieving your best possible self. It's like your ego and your fears, and it's all combined, and it creates procrastination.
Yeah.
And he gives you the tools in this book to try to be a professional, to realize like a professional shows up and a professional works.
Yeah.
Like, and this is what we do. And
Yeah.
if you put yourself on that schedule, the muse will come to you. And those ideas will enter into your mind.
So it's just putting in the work every single day.
You have to respect it. You can't just think it's a gift you get whenever you want to go and access it.
Bro, that's like a lesson I learned with this, trying to write new stuff since I put out the last special. I was telling you this. It's like really hard. It's like really hard for me. And I hadn't experienced that before in stand up. But I was just I just didn't want to like do a different version of jokes I'd already done.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes that happens. Like it's not necessarily bad. But I've done it for sure. But I just really wanted the comedy to reflect what I'd gone through in life and how I'd changed in life. And that was fucking hard, man. To like sit there, think, develop new ways to attack these things that I haven't experienced before.
Yeah, your stand-up is basically like a snapshot of who you are
In that moment.
At that year.
But
like if I
like-
look at a special that I did from like 2009, I'm a very different person.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at a special I did from 2016, I'm a very different person.
Yeah.
And so it's just this snapshot, and then you have to kind of figure out who you are now.
Yes.
And all your new material has to be, who are you now?
Yes. And
You know?
if you're honest,
Yeah.
you acknowledge who you are now.
Yeah.
And I think some people or some comics, they don't, and then they get into that world where they kind of almost look like they're doing an impression of themselves.
Yes.
And the audience can tell.
100%.
And maybe they don't know consciously what's happening, but they can feel it. Like,
They don't feel like you're connecting with them.
yeah, they don't feel because they're like, oh, you're doing this version. And I always valued, Patrice was always kind of like my North Star, and I always valued like the authenticity. Like, what is the thing? Like, how do I fucking feel? And there was so much transition. Like, I did so many bits early on about like chicks being annoying, and then like I got an amazing wife that I love, and I'm like, they ain't that annoying. You know what I mean? Like, you get a coffee in the morning. Like, there's always snacks in the pantry. Like, it's not that annoying, right? Like, so I'm like, I have to be pure about what I'm going through, and that was tricky, man. It like really feels good to be at a point where like, okay, now I got some stuff that I'm like excited about, that I want
Yeah.
to talk about, and I feel hungry. But for a while, it was hard, man.
What is your writing process like?
Now I've become way more diligent. So like before I would just go up and riff on stage, and now it's harder for me to get up. I make sure I go 3 nights a week, and I got to do at least 4 spots each of those nights. So I can get to about 12, which I think is like a good amount of time to kind of let go. And then off nights, I have to also work. So I just have to talk. I either talk to myself, I'll call up one of my buddies and I'll be like, hey, what are you working on? Hey, let's go. Just tell me what your things are. Then I'll tell ideas that I have and like try to flesh out how I feel about it. Because I can't write the bit until I know how I feel. And sometimes
So
it
you
takes
just-
me a little bit to feel.
So your process is like just a lot of thinking about ideas
And talking
to
just
people
like
about stuff.
we have to just talk like getting I think that's why I enjoy podcasting. It's getting to how I feel about a thing. And you say a bunch of things that are funny and absurd and crazy and salacious on the way.
For sure.
But what is my core feeling about this issue?
Right.
And once I'm at that core, then everything emanates from the core. But if I can't get to the core, I just have some misdirection that like I don't even believe in.
Right.
Once I get to the meat and potatoes, it flows. Everything just kind of like
Yeah, you find that zone. You find that area where you're supposed to exist in.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can write from it much easier. I can riff from it much easier because I feel like I'm being honest with the audience. Like every line is honest. It might not be funny yet, but you know I'm being honest. You know that I'm telling you how I feel about this thing. And I think that they'll attach themselves to that. And then if I can catch you or I stumble across something, it can hit. But I need to know what I feel about it, and I can't write about things that I don't care. Like the idea of like being like and God bless them, but like the late night writers where you just like, they throw you some shit and you got to write
Yeah.
a joke about it. My brain doesn't work like that.
That's like living off oatmeal for the rest of your life. That's like you can stay alive, Andrew, but you're gonna eat plain oatmeal,
fucking listening right now.
plain oatmeal for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta care, Joe.
No,
I gotta
of course,
really
and
fucking care.
that's because you care about what you do, and that's why
Yeah.
you're so funny. It's we all have to care about what we do, and you have to. I think everybody does it in different ways. You know,
Yeah.
I'm always interested in the writing process.
Yeah. Why? What is yours? You just go, right? Like you'll just sit in front of the laptop and just write stream of conscious, right?
I think that's important. I don't think it's necessary because some of the greats don't do it. But if I was going to teach a class on creating stand-up,
yeah.
I mean, look, it's not like I'm the best stand-up in the world, so I'm not like I'm the best qualified to do this. But if I was given this task to do that, I would say you should do all those things.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that keeps you from writing.
Yeah.
Like why don't you write?
Yeah.
And if you like to think about things and talk about things, but what about sitting and talking to yourself about a thing
Okay.
and writing it? And there's a very specific mindset that takes place for me when I'm in front of the keyboard and I'm writing an essay on something. I can type, so I don't have to look at the keys, which is nice. I don't type great, but I type okay.
Enough, yeah.
And I type enough. And so I can just zone in on the page and I'm thinking about every word much longer than it takes to type that word. Or rather, it takes it's like if I had to write something out.
Yeah.
If you're writing out a word,
Yes.
it's so much more time to write it out than it is to just think about.
So
that
now you're
word.
chewing on it while you're writing it
Yeah.
out.
So as you're writing each individual word, you're pausing in time.
Yeah.
And you're in a time lapse. And you get to consider each and every possible way you would say something from that word while you're
Yeah.
writing that word.
Yeah.
And there's a physical task of doing that with your keys and your fingers that makes you concentrate.
Yes.
Because it fires up your synapses and
Yeah.
makes you think that you're doing this with your fingers. It's kind of exciting.
Yes.
Especially if you have a tactile keyboard. See, like I use
hear it.
I use a keyboard that has a lot of keystroke.
Yeah.
It's like got a lot of room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's why I work with a ThinkPad.
Yeah. Now, do
because
you
they like clickety click, so you feel it in your fingers. So it's this tactile thing,
Yeah.
and then the words are up there, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the words,
Yeah.
and then other things come to me.
do you find that you you speak differently when you write
Yes,
than when you talk to a person?
right, definitely. Well, you definitely, it's not natural
Yeah.
when you write. It's not clean. But what you do is you take these bullet points from these various things that you wrote out and just say them how you would say them.
Yeah.
Say them how you would say them when you're right there.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't rely on writing to create great jokes,
But the ideas
but
can
the
come from that.
ideas, it's a farm for ideas.
Yes.
That's what it is.
I need to have that moment. For me, it's not sitting down, but it's like, okay, there's a weird meditative state that I can get to if I'm running and I have a song that I know well enough where I can tap into my subconscious, but not too well where the song bores me.
Right.
And I get into a weird state. And sometimes when I'm just like running, like, I hate it and it's awful, whatever. And then sometimes I get into this state where I can like lock in and like create these other scenarios, and I kind of like exist in these scenarios. And I imagine this is what like the super elite runners probably can access this for 26 miles or
Right.
something like that. Like I can't do that, and I can't tap in every time. But when I can tap into that state, I can like create these like worlds that I exist in. And sometimes these lines come up, these ideas come up, these curiosity comes up. There's like a part of my brain that now can flourish because other parts of my brain are accessed.
So it like hits when you're breathing heavy,
Yeah,
when you start sweating.
It's like my brain is occupied by like maintaining this pace, which is probably pretty fast, but not so fast where I can't concentrate. But that's occupied there. And then another part of my brain is occupied by the music. And sometimes I'll just replay the same song over and over again. Yeah. But there's a
love doing
state,
that.
right? Something
Yeah.
happens, and it's like, I don't know what the fuck it is, and I wish I could like lock in on it, you know, like, and just exist in that for 3 hours a day or something. But when I can, thoughts become really clear, and ideas become really clear, and sometimes they're fucking shit, and then sometimes they're like really interesting, and I can replay these scenarios and think of like an interesting comeback or like this really self-deprecating thing that happened, and it's just like I'll literally hop off the treadmill, sweaty as fuck, dripping all over my phone, write the idea, and then get back on. But I don't know if that's a good strategy for doing it, but these are the different scenarios to access that part of the brain that I almost feel like is always working. Like, I don't know. I always felt like comedy exists and then you just kind of find it. I don't think I've created any comedy. I think it's there, and I just kind of like, this is stupid, but like, you know, like with, what is it, the constellations. It's like the stars are there, but somebody looked at them and they're like, ooh, that kind of looks like a belt. Ooh, that
Yeah.
kind of looks like a dipper.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I know what you're saying.
that's kind of what I think with a lot of these ideas. It's like all the things are there, and you're just kind of like connecting these little dots.
Well, I think the more you look at it like that, the more it becomes available to you too. Because I think one of the traps of the human mind is that when you get good at something, your ego inflates, and you think it's about you, and you're just a special thing, and you're better than everybody. And there's a way that you could do it that nobody can fuck with, and you know, and there's a thing that's like a normal thing that people do.
Yeah.
And I think that invades your creative process.
Yeah. You create an expectation for yourself.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that's why I took some time away. It was like, I just wanted to create, like, I don't let any friends come see me. I don't let anybody come see me. Like, when I'm in creation mode, it's so weird because obviously the people will come out, but like, I want some time for me.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to be there thinking like, oh God, is my wife going to be upset that I say this thing? Or, because that can that stops the tag that might be too far, it might be too wild, or it might be perfect, or like, okay, I can find it. Like, I want to create and not have a fucking care in the world. You know, I don't know. You said something to me yesterday. It was like, you don't want to be any more famous. And it was like it's a wild thing to say, but I get it. Because it's like, the more that comes with it, maybe the more restriction you feel.
Well, you're more susceptible to criticism. You're more susceptible to people being upset with you. You're more susceptible to people thinking that it's not fair. Because it's not fair. There's no fair. That's what's weird about life. So the weirdest things. Like, it doesn't necessarily make sense what becomes successful and what's not, and who's making money and who's not. It's not about how much effort you're putting in. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's like it's a weird game we're all playing.
Yeah.
You know? And the more successful you get, and they're like, would you want to be the richest guy in the world? Like, what the fuck is that? Is he living any better than number 39? They leave 39 alone. 39's probably worth $5 billion. That dude's chilling.
What do they say about
They don't say jack shit about that guy. That guy's eating filet mignon and drinking Dom Perignon.
Same jets,
Yeah.
same hotels,
Having a great ass time.
great time, same Instagram models,
Exactly the same shit.
like with no scrutiny.
Nothing's different. Same pure cocaine straight out of Colombia.
Like no.
They're flaking it off with razor blades. Like the purest fucking brick cocaine, that the shit that fucking Peter Frampton used to snort in the 70s. Peter, I don't know if you did coke. I'm sorry. I should have said somebody else.
You
Who would
did.
be a good reference?
You did.
He might have.
You did.
Who would
And the
be a
good
good
shit.
reference? Who definitely snorted coke in the 70s?
In the 70s, fucking John Travolta
Oh, yeah. He must have.
off of some guy's back.
Whoa!
It was a massage. It was a massage.
Snorting coke and getting massages.
I tried coke once,
Yeah?
and it lives up to the hype,
Does it?
bro. Have you ever done coke?
No, I have not. The singer-songwriter's career of intense highs and devastating deceptions is explored in a revealing new memoir. Peter Frampton, I was kept high. If I needed cocaine, he made sure I had it. Hey, bitch, that's your fault. Yeah. I don't like that.
Oh, he
I don't like
forced
that kind
me.
of talk.
He forced
I
me.
don't like that kind of talk. I
Breathe
was
out of your
kept
mouth.
high. No. Unless they were holding you down and making you snort it off that stripper's tits, then there's no fucking way that you could say that they did that to you, sir.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I wonder if they got to look back and like they don't want to take responsibility for what they did.
Well, it must be awful to like have had everything ripped away from you because you became a cocaine addict or because you got into heroin. Imagine just like you have a functional existence, everything's great, you're doing a thing, whether it's rock and roll music or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden things start going well. You're doing shows. And you just like to get high, and you're just getting high a lot, and you're just like doing shit like I need a bump before I go up, and wow. And next thing you know, you're getting high every night, and you're just wrecked, and your immune system is wrecked, and your body's wrecked, and you're always like implementing chemicals. It's always alcohol to sleep, and maybe Ambien and cocaine to wake up. And, you know, you're living 3-4 years to every 1 year. Every 1 year, you've got 3 or 4 years of damage because you're going so hard, and then you know you don't want to think it was just you, and it's not just you because it's addictive. It's like it's a problem. It's like telling someone they have the flu, like, well, you should be sick. I'm like, okay, that's not helping them.
Yeah.
They're addicted. They're like physically addicted to coke, and we want to categorize that as like being a mental weakness. Or want to categorize that as being you're totally helpless and the addiction has overwhelmed you. I suspect it's a combination of the two things. I suspect that's why there's such polarizing camps between the idea that it's not your fault at all and it's 100% your fault. And you need to fucking just be stronger.
It's also the hardest thing to understand if you've never done it. Like all these people that have no empathy for the people that get caught up in addiction have just probably never tried heroin.
Yeah, they never tried it. They don't know what they're talking about.
Have you ever,
I bet it's amazing.
Have you ever tried heroin?
No, I haven't. But when I had a knee operation, they had this morphine drip. And
Crazy.
yeah, I've been told that this is not correct by someone, but I don't know if that's true. They said when I was in the operation, so I got an ACL reconstruction in 1993 or some shit.
Old surgery.
Bro, they open you up like a fish.
Yeah.
And they take a piece of your shin bone and a piece of your kneecap and a strip of your patella tendon. And then they open you up and then fucking screw it in place. And that's your new ACL. It's actually stronger than the original ACL.
But you don't have the same functionality. Like the new ACL surgeries are incredible. These guys are back after 6 months.
Yeah, the new ACL surgeries, most of what they're doing is, I did both. I did a cadaver graft on my right knee.
What's that?
The cadaver graft, they take a dead dude's Achilles heel, his Achilles tendon, which is much stronger and thicker than the tendon that's the real ACL.
And they make that your
cruciate
ACL.
ligament. Yeah, they turn that into your ACL.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was only 6 months. That was 6 months, and then I was back like basically 100%. That was really good because that one, like, I was walking without a cane in like 5 days.
After an ACL surgery.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so much less invasive, that one, to get the cadaver one. The other one is so invasive because, like, they have to cut you. It's a big slice.
Yeah.
They have to open you up
Yeah.
and screw it in and screw it in
Yeah.
and then check to see if it's good.
Yeah.
You know, but it is your tendon that they're cutting. But the cadaver one, what happens is it becomes a scaffolding, and your body proliferates the scaffolding of the dead dude's heel.
What does that mean? It starts
Achilles
to
tendon.
eat it up or something?
No, it changes it. It overcomes it with its own cells. So originally, all it is like a scaffolding for your body to grow that tendon back.
Oh, that's the purpose of it.
Yeah, that what your body is doing is you're like, if they take I'm sure if you're a doctor out there, I'm fucking this up, so I'm sorry.
We're just comedians, by the way, just to remind
They take the Achilles tendon and then they screw it into the bone on the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
So it becomes your new ACL.
Yeah.
But it's not really that stable.
Right.
Because it's the dead guy's shit.
Right.
So your body has to use it as a scaffolding.
Starts to build its
and
own
build
version of it.
its own tissue
Amazing.
over this.
Amazing.
And then within 6 months, that process has happened.
Amazing.
And then you have a real, like, solid ACL that's way stronger. I think it's 150% stronger than a regular ACL.
Have you ever forgotten, like, your wife's birthday or anything?
No, I'm pretty good with that. But I have an iPhone.
I guess I'm like, you have this incredible retention. So if I was your wife and you forgot my birthday, I would be furious. Because you remembered, like, you were saying vitamins and minerals and all this shit last night. Like, David Lucas asked you about something and you just started, like, rifling off. So I wonder if you have, like, a higher expectation to remember things.
No, generally speaking. Because I'm only good at remembering things I'm interested in.
Babe, your birthday's not one of those things.
If I'll forget my own birthday. If I like just am not tuned into something, it's not consistent. Like, my memory is very consistent for things that are like a crazy moment, like if something wild happens. I just have like a snapshot of it. It's very weird. When people tell me something that's fascinating, it becomes embedded. Like if I'm talking to Graham Hancock or Randall Carlson, they blow my mind with some shit.
Yeah.
If I talk to like physicists who like intrigue me with these theories about everything, but if someone's just talking to me about like some fucking stupid thing that we might do next week, I forget about it immediately.
Done. Gone. Doesn't matter.
Like unless it's a real thing, like tell me when it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because you know how people are. People are flaky. I don't remember shit. Like you said you were gonna go. I go, okay, I'll go. I don't want to fucking remember that.
Yeah.
Like how do you not remember that? Because it's just we're going to go to dinner. It's not like, how does the Hadron Collider create the Higgs boson particle?
Yeah. Most people would be like, yeah, dinner's easier to remember.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, well, yeah, they just throw it's in fucking Lucerne.
You only have so much room. That's what it is. It's not even that people are stupid. It's like people only, like when you think of a person as stupid, a lot of times stupid people are good at things. So why is he good at that thing but not good at things that prove you're smart? Because oftentimes it's like, what are you concentrating on? Like if you're concentrating on a very particular thing, and you suck at it, well then you might be dumb. But if you're trying to concentrate on all things, you're going to be stupid at something.
I thought about that as I got older, and I'm like, am I just taking in more meaningless bullshit? So it's harder for me to remember because it's couched with all this other nonsense that I'm taking in all day.
Yeah.
Like, how many things can you take in a day? how many like good memories can you make in a day? Or is there another way that you have to like find a way to imprint those memories? You know, my pops his short-term memory is pretty much gone. But like with repetition, things start to lock in his long-term memory. And it was a fascinating thing for him to like remember my wife. Like first few times I had to like introduce her and everything like that. And then eventually he's like, how's everything with Emma? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, how does memory work if like something transferred? Like he can get around the city fine. He can take the subway. He can do all these things. And it's like, I guess
Does he have Alzheimer's?
He has what's called MCI, mild cognitive impairment, I think it's called. Sometimes that leads into Alzheimer's, sometimes it doesn't, but basically zaps you of your short-term memory. Yeah, it's tricky. And then you think about it with yourself, like how is that, you know, could that happen to you? Like I remember, times where
What's the cause of it? It's just genetic? Is it?
Might be genetic. You know, who knows? I think, you know, we'll look into a lot of like these drugs that people have taken for depression and other things, and maybe who knows, in 50 years from now we'll go, wow, that had some other side effects that could be bad.
Isn't it fascinating if you were objective about this and you looked at human beings? You would look at human beings. I know we think of ourselves as very different than any other system because we're humans. We don't even really think of ourselves as being a part of wildlife, right?
Kind of interesting.
We call wildlife, and we call, we have life.
We're not wild.
We have
Go to Florida.
Yeah, there's us, and then there's wildlife.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But human beings are very similar to cars. We're very similar to, if you looked at the amount of automobiles that exist, there's automobiles that are notoriously durable and reliable. There's like Toyota Land Cruisers.
Corolla.
Yeah,
I was about to say,
Corolla.
Corolla you had for
Toyotas.
20 years. Yeah.
Bro, you get a Toyota, that motherfucker's never going to
Dude,
break.
we had one as a kid. Yeah.
Every Toyota I've ever had just lasts and
Yeah.
lasts
Yeah.
and lasts.
Yeah.
They're so durable. Their goal, a friend of mine was just telling me this. Oh, Phil was telling me this, that their goal is to last for 30 years in a third world country.
Amazing.
Like, nobody builds a car like that.
And it's true, because when you see what the Taliban uses.
Yes. Land Cruisers. Yeah. And then there's Range Rovers.
You get 5, 10.
And then there's, a 1990 Chevy Malibu. It's a piece
How long does that last?
Piece of shit.
It is, yeah. And that's
It's
the
a
cop car, right?
It's a piece of shit.
Yeah,
No, I
but
think the cop car was the Impala.
oh, the Impala. Yeah. Why is that? Like, that's
But
another
then
thing.
there's like a 2023 Corvette. You're like, damn.
That's a great car. Yeah.
It's like there's different kinds of cars.
But is that a
and there's
choice?
different kind. Nah.
No, I mean by
not-
the manufacturer. Are they going like, if we make a car that's good for 30 years, people will keep it for 30 years. If we make a car that's good for 10, they re-up after 10.
It's a good question. Like, why did they do it the way they did it, right? Because sensibly, like a car from I have a car that I love that's from 2007. It's almost 20 years old. Like, you would think that you would need to get another car to enjoy, but you really don't. Like, are you a fucking race car driver?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what are you doing? Like, why are you driving to go so fast? Are you just enjoying what a car feels like to drive? That's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, why does everybody need to get new ones all the time? Well, we're kind of programmed to think that if you're successful, that's what you do. If you're successful, you don't roll around a 2008 Mercedes. What is that piece of shit?
Yeah, but
what
now-
are those stupid fucking headlights and
Yeah.
actual key to start the engine?
Actual key.
Yeah,
God
what's
forbid.
yeah, what the fuck are you doing? You turning the key to start the engine? What are you, a peasant? Right? It's like, what is it?
Give it a second. Let it warm up. Yeah.
Fucking stupid asshole. Press the button. Get a real car. If you're doing well, you get a real car. And
If
it's a
you
trap
like
we
the
play
car, though,
ourselves.
that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
there are people that don't care about cars.
Right.
And getting a car to impress other people when you don't care about cars is such a waste of money.
Right.
But if you love the cars,
Yeah.
then spend your money, have some fun.
Yeah. There's a reason why like a Range Rover costs $190,000 or whatever it is. How
Why
much
is
do those
that?
cost?
Yeah, around there, depending what it
Because when you
is.
drive them, they're awesome.
Yeah.
I rented one in Salt Lake City. I'm like,
Yeah.
It's like a giant tank of opulence.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it is beautiful.
You feel like the world's okay.
Yeah.
The world's okay.
Yeah.
Like every bump is kind of smooth. The sound system's amazing.
Yeah.
Bluetooth synced up like that.
Done. Yeah.
Listening to my tunes.
Yeah.
Just driving around Park City.
But will break down.
Perhaps. It perhaps won't be as robust as the Land Cruiser.
Or as resilient as a Toyota.
Yeah.
But you're not paying for resilience. That's the thing. Is like if you're getting a Range Rover, stop acting like this is your 30-year car. Like you're choosing to buy a $200,000
Right.
SUV because you're not going to be driving along the fucking pyramids in it. Right? Like, like let's be honest about what's going on here. You're in stop and go traffic. Like
Right.
it's going to break
you're
down.
in Beverly Hills.
What do you expect is going on here?
Tim Dillon has one of those things.
He got the Range.
Yeah.
He got a few nice cars.
Tim Dillon lives like a baller.
He really
and I
does.
talk about it. I talk to him.
What do you
I
say?
encourage him to spend his money.
Spend that money.
Spend that money,
He
bro.
earns it.
I
Good
try
for
to
him.
tell all of them. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
Wait, why? Okay, that's interesting. Why do you tell them to spend?
Because I don't like that, like, save it all up famine mindset.
Did you have that ever? Because you didn't come from crazy money.
No, I didn't. I did not have a spend what you have mindset until I started making money.
What?
But when I started making money, I shifted quick, son.
Immediately switched it.
My manager thought I had a gambling problem.
Was he right?
No, I wasn't gambling at all. I was eating lobster every night.
Your business manager called you and
He
said
was
there's
like,
an issue?
What are you doing? What are you doing with all your money? I'm like, I'm living like a king, bitch.
Wait, when did you
I've been
decide?
poor since I was a little kid.
So you could handle being poor. Poor's not scary to you.
Oh, I'm not scared of. I wasn't scared of being poor.
That's the most
But I was like,
liberating shit.
I'm eating lobster, son.
Yeah, I'm scared
You
of
know?
not living life. That's the fear I think a lot of people don't get. Where it's just like, you've been poor, you're cool with being poor.
Yeah.
You're not afraid of that because you knew how to thrive within that. You knew how to manage that. You're afraid of having all this and not enjoying it in this one life you have.
Well, I think for sure when I first started getting money, I didn't think it was going to last. Like that, nothing had ever lasted before. Like, why would I think that this was gonna there was no stability in it. It's like, why would I think that this was gonna like keep happening? That I was gonna get on television. Like, who the fuck gets on TV? You know. So I was like, I'm spending this fucking money. Like, I'm gonna have some fun. We're just eating lobsters. I bought a Volkswagen. I got like a 1990 that car that I showed you last night, a Volkswagen Dorado that I would bump Cool G Rap in.
No,
Was
you
it
showed me
did I
Cool G
show you?
Rap. You didn't show me the car.
Yeah, it was Derek then. I was telling him like I'm such a Cool G Rap fan because
Yeah.
when I was driving the gigs
Yeah.
in the 1990s, it was like really the best sound system I ever had in a car. I had like a nice sound system. It was like a Blaupunkt.
Yeah.
It was the kind that had a handle. You pull it out when you
Yeah.
leave the car so no one steals it.
Yeah,
Remember that
the
one?
The radio.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
The radio comes out
Bro, I
like
was
a
ex-
fucking laptop.
I was explaining this to my young guys who don't understand that the radio used to come out of the car, and their reaction was this: they would go, "Hold on," they go this, they go, "People would steal the radio,
Bro, that was the
Bro,
whole
the-
thing. And they would
the
sell
radio.
them too. Yeah, the radio.
Yeah, yeah,
So you would get it, so it would come out on a slider.
yeah."
Remember that?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
hold it up like a handbag.
Yeah, there was like
and
a
you'd
little
be
hook
walking
that you
around.
could-
So
yeah.
dudes would be walking
And then-
around with their fucking Blaupunk at the bar.
People would put a little sign on their car.
Yeah, please don't break in my window.
Radio's not
Radio
in the
not
car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, people are stealing radios.
I mean, that was
that
new-
all went away.
yeah,
Once it
yeah.
became like an integrated computer system with Apple CarPlay and Android Play and all that.
And once just having iPod got cheap, like just
Yeah.
having music on you, it was on your phone.
Yeah.
People don't give Steve Jobs enough credit for that. Like he really stopped a lot of like car theft, like breaking into cars.
Probably.
Yeah,
When the ability to get a song like what we were doing last night,
dude.
like the ability to get a song like literally instantaneously and just like
Bro.
using your thumbs and bam.
You blasting '90s hip hop last night, bro.
That's my shit.
I had no clue that you liked '90s hip hop.
That's my shit,
I
dude.
remember going, I was like, bro, you might like Big L. Like, and I'm saying it as if like you don't know who this guy is. And you're like, oh yeah, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. Love that. Yeah. I got a whole playlist with Big L.
Yeah, I have
Like,
a Big L playlist. Big L was, boy, what you talk about a tragedy. That guy was snatched too soon. He was
and for
really
not even his
talented.
fault. It was, I believe, I could be wrong, his brother was the guy who was really involved. Yeah. Oh. I remember that time in New York when Big L was popping. I was probably in like elementary or middle. And dude, Big L had like, he was rapping in like a multi-syllabic way. And he had these like hilariously funny punchlines. He had this one thing, he goes, ask Beavis, I get nothing but head. And like it was just like he goes, oh God, I'm so ahead of my time, my parents haven't even met yet. Like he had like kind of punchlines in the rap. Like it was funny. Like there were funny lines, and I remember like hearing this dude. I didn't even know what he looked like. That's how detached we were, right? If you didn't have a music video out, you're just hearing this guy's bars. And it was such a cool time in New York where like your friend could put you onto music, and there would be no way where you could find out about music without your friend putting you on.
Right.
If you weren't on MTV or like The Box or whatever the hell the channel was, like your buddy had to say you need to listen to this and then play a cassette or CD of that person. Everything was word of mouth. It was almost like there was more justice because there wasn't a way where you could influence people into listening to a track. Like, yeah, I guess for sure, like top 100, whatever on the radio. But if it wasn't on the radio, indie shit was literally, I'm going to tell you about this guy you need to hear about. And then you're going to go to Tower Records and you're going to buy that fucking album.
Well, dudes would try to sell their cassettes on the streets
They
in
still
New
do
York.
that shit. And it's like, fam, nobody is a CD player. Like, you need to chill out. Like, step it up. Like, give me a link.
See, do they even make cars with CD players anymore?
Nah, it's done. But they just do that because, like,
How
Swedish
quick did
people.
that change?
Yeah. I mean,
That changed so quick.
dude, I remember it. I remember
That
being in high
changed
school.
so quick.
Yeah, with the, what is it called? CP, what is it? What were those players? CP4 players or some shit? MP3 players. Bro. I mean, it's just, I wonder if we're living in the craziest change. Like, can you compare our change with the internet to? Is it Industrial Revolution? Like, what piece of technology changed society in the way that the internet has changed us in our lifetime?
I don't think there's anything that's comparable because I think everything is kind of exponential. I think everything that gets invented builds on other things that get invented. More things get invented because of it. And then it reaches this crazy point where we're at now where you have this computer program that seems to be the most intelligent being that's ever existed. It seems to be able to answer questions about anything. So then the question becomes, when does it have questions of its own? That's the real question. When does this thing just decide, like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? This fucking culture you have is nonsense. You have a dead man and a dunce running the greatest military the world has ever known, and everybody just like dances around and pretends everything's fine, and as long as we have a guy with a beard wearing a dress.
Bro, imagine ChatGPT came out during COVID and was like, I think most people will be all right.
Yeah.
Like, imagine AI steps in and interferes with narrative and agenda.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
It's very dangerous because it's already doing it. If there's questions that you ask ChatGPT to do, and it'll do it. Like, it'll mock a bunch of different religious figures, but it will not mock Muhammad.
Because ChatGPT knows. They pull up.
ChatGPT wouldn't write a joke in the style of Shane Gillis.
No.
It said, it didn't want to. It's something about
It didn't want to be
some
funny.
of his materials was offensive or something like that. I mean, it's basically has a very non-nuanced and non-comprehensive view.
It is cool to see what's happening with Shane and the success that Shane is having. It's like,
Bro, he's undeniable.
there's justice, man.
He's undeniable.
justice,
He's
man.
so good. However good he was back then when SNL got canceled him. he's on another
Rocket
level
ship,
now.
yeah.
He's on another
It's
level.
just, it's one of those things. It's like, that's why I love the internet. That's why, I mean, we could talk about TikTok and we could talk about all these other things, but there are these amazing success stories that come from it.
Yeah.
And they make me have a positive attitude towards it.
Yeah.
You know, because without an outlet for him to express himself and like just do great comedy and just be hilarious,
Right.
people would just fall in line with the narrative that existed.
Imagine if we're talking about a time, well, obviously this kind of came about because of podcasts, right? So it's hard to imagine that. But if it was less access, say if podcasts weren't the way they are now, there could be a moment where that's the end of his life.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, like if this is like 1985 and they put that all over the news and it was this thing. And
look at Lenny.
Yeah.
What happened with Lenny?
Yeah.
Like a narrative got set in place with Lenny. And I don't think that Lenny in the end of his life, if I'm not mistaken, like was living lavish with all this money.
No.
It was a
He
difficult...
was blowing all his money on his legal fees. And it was a different world because the money that he would get would just be from live gigs. And I don't think they did like big arenas, right? So it's like, you know, he's traveling a lot and he's making some money, but he's also has exorbitant legal costs. And he would go on stage with the transcripts of. You ever seen the videos of him going on stage?
And reading what happened in the court
He would read the
proceedings?
trial transcripts on
funny.
stage, and then the lawyer says, and he would go into his thing, and it wasn't funny at all.
Oh, it's not funny.
At all. There was nothing funny about it. It was they were so bored. They didn't know what to do. He was so obsessed with his case that he thought he could just talk about his case in front of everybody and be interesting.
I've thought about this recently, about like the importance of having like a comedic North Star and like a version of comedy that you think is the highest version that exists and following that.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have that, you succumb to the will of the audience. And that can be dangerous because your confidence is dependent on them and not the version of art you think is the greatest. And yeah, I just wonder, like early on, like, did you have a guy who was like, this is the highest form of the art? This is the North Star.
I like what you're saying. I do. I think there's probably multiple North Stars, though, always. Because there's certain styles that always interested me in a different way. Like I would decide that one guy was the funniest guy, and then I'd see someone that was totally different, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, he's so good. Maybe he's the best guy. Holy shit!"
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like Sam Kinison, or it'd be Richard Jeni, or you know, when you think about North Stars, and you know, I think the idea is a great idea.
Yeah.
Like the highest expression, but I don't necessarily think there's just one. I think it's really a community thing. And I think if you're around a bunch of guys like Attell or Shane Gillis or you, or, you know, if you're around these Ari Shafirs and fucking Mark Normans, if you're around these guys, all Tim Dillon, and if you're around those guys all the time, like they're fucking murdering.
Yeah.
They're going up and slaying, and you're all like vibing off each other, and you're all having fun.
Yeah.
And you go up together. It's like, I think when comics see that, like if you're a comic that's starting out and you see like the way we roll, I think you'll see like if you just be true to the art, just true to the thing.
I get concerned when people, because I think that a lot of times, and I'm sure this is in every industry, but like comedics are drawn to like what is successful, right? So they're like, okay, if interviewing people on the street is successful, I'll try that. Or if podcasting is successful, I'll try that. Or if posting clips is successful, I'll try that. Or if this version is, and that's a normal thing. But I think it's important, like within that, to have like a version that you think is the most pure, even if other people think you're wrong. Like there are people who like certain types of comedy that are different than the version I love.
Yeah.
But I had a version that I thought was the best. And as long as like I was being true to that, I was happy with what I did. I was competing with that.
Yeah.
Not competing with, like, let's say somebody went up and they did like a bunch of like really woke jokes and they got fucking claps and applause, whatever. I could be fine not doing that because I was like, I know what the best is. Now I might be wrong in other people's minds. I don't give a fuck. But I had an idea, and that allowed me to like do the comedy that I did in a time. I mean, you remember when it was like you couldn't do offensive jokes. I mean, you were doing it. There was a few of us doing it, but like a lot of people were like, okay, I need to get on Comedy Central. I need to do whatever. And I was like, why was I able to do that? And I was like, oh, well, I just saw a version that I thought was the best, and I was like, how can I honor that? Because I think that's the best version, despite the fact that audiences were pissed or didn't like it or doing whatever. And I don't know. I just feel like that's important, like to have an almost like a arrogance about the version of comedy that you love. And there could be multiple versions, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's a healthy thing to have as you come up doing comedy, because it will stop you from like mimicking a thing that's successful just because you want success.
Right.
It will instill the purity. Like I don't see you going, oh, well, this is trendy. I'll try that. Right?
Right.
And why is that? Because you had a fucking idea of what was good.
Yeah, well, also, just, I don't understand that. Like, when things are trendy, I'm like, why? Like, what is it? Like, what are you guys doing? Why are you doing what everybody else is doing? Why are your pants ripped? Why are your pants ripped? You buying pants that are ripped on purpose? The fuck are you doing? Look at me. No. Stop it. You're so interesting with your ripped pants. Thank God your pants look destroyed. The fuck are we doing? What are we doing? I'm not going on that.
That's what I think is important.
Yeah.
To have that fucking unbelievable, almost like religious arrogance about a version of comedy. And I don't care if it's one-liners, I don't care if it's stories, I don't care what it is. But I think allowing yourself to do that will make the most pure, authentic comedy for you.
I think so.
And that's what I want to see.
I think you also have to be flexible. You also have to like not be committed to like the way you're doing it, and just be open. Because sometimes, like it's one of the best ways to create new jokes. Like sometimes, like a whole new way of looking at things comes about if you're not like committed to like one particular mindset.
Not ideology,
Yeah.
but form of like. For me, it was always like I saw people that were really authentic, and I really loved that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that guy's being like really authentic, and I didn't feel like he's lying to me.
Yeah.
I feel like I could kind of trust him, and I feel like he was talking in a way that he would talk to me if he was off stage.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know.
It's an art form.
It's
an art form to doing that. That's what's so fascinating about this whole thing. There really is an art form to doing that.
We're so lucky we're existing in a time where people value it. Because there's been like bubbles, and were you around when it popped?
I came onto the scene. I did my first open mic in 1988. So 1988 was the bubble was kind of already popping.
Yeah.
But there was still a lot of work. What happened was something happened. Something happened in the 1980s where people could just talk like a comedian.
Yeah. There was
they
the
didn't have
comedic cadence.
any punchlines.
Yeah.
And and some of these guys got pretty far. There's this one guy, I don't want to mention his name, but I would bring comedians around. I want you to watch this. I want you to watch this because there is nothing there. He's not saying anything. It's fucking 100% nonsense.
Yeah.
But he talks like a comedian.
Yeah.
And it was so mundane.
Yeah.
His points were so boring.
Yeah.
And I took a couple comics. We're sitting in the back of the Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
I go, I just want you to watch this guy. Just watch this guy. And they're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I go, yeah. Like you could do that in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then this guy was like surviving in the early 90s. And then it just... like one of those skeletons that turns into dust when they get like a vampire.
When the sun comes out.
That's what it's like. Dude, he just went away. But I remember he was like a fucking arrogant.
Yeah.
Like with these arrogant weirdos who would like wear suits.
Yeah.
And he would do this like really clean comedy, this like
Yeah.
clunky,
Yeah.
boring, but he thought it was the best comedy. And he thought that we were, talking about silly things, using bad words.
Ooh, naughty.
But there was a time where people were so excited to see comedy that all you had to do is sound like a comedian
And they'd be out there.
and talk about things comedians talked about, and you could make a living.
So this is I don't know. This is why I'm like concerned about now. It's like, what do we do to uphold the standard? What do we? Because we're in a bubble, and like I seen hot girls doing comedy.
Good. Let them do comedy. I hope they're good.
I hope
Look,
they're good too.
It's
but
not a bubble. It's not a bubble. It's live comedy is the best way to see comedy. And just by nature of the fucking sheer numbers of people, there can't be a bubble.
No, I'm not talking about bubble because I think that like being funny is social currency now with like having a funny caption or a funny meme or a funny post. Like I think people really value funny now. I think that's why it's there. And then like we're the funniest people. So obviously there's going to be a value for us, right? But I do think that like more people will want to try, and I wish everybody tried stand up so they knew, what it was.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's important that like what we were saying earlier about like a club or a scene, like how do we hold that? What is the standard, and how do we maintain that standard? Because maintaining that standard is what maintains that scene and maintains that expectation, even for the audience.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. Like, what do you think about that?
Well, it's an individual's choice. And then it's a community's choice in terms of like, if you're in a group of comics and one person starts doing something that sucks, or they start doing something that like really bums out the audience, or maybe they're doing a premise that's not that original.
Yeah.
Like if that happens, that is a giant problem.
Yeah.
That's like a bunch of cells encountering a virus. That's like, whoa.
You can't let
What
that
is that?
virus proliferate.
What is that?
Yeah.
What is that? Like, and occasionally people will go crazy. This is also part of the problem of being a comedian. What percentage of people stay sane from birth to death? It's not 100. It's not 100. So sometimes people go crazy, and these people were amongst you before they were crazy, and then they're deep in, and now all of a sudden you got a fucking complete lunatic that's in your cycle of friends that thinks that the CIA is writing jokes for him, and that they're ruining his punchlines. You're like, oh no, what do I do? Like
Yeah.
I've been friends with guys and saw them go insane. Like, what do you do about that?
Yeah.
You gotta babysit that guy all
Can
day?
you bring that guy back?
You might kill him while you're trying.
Really?
Yeah, you might give him like a fucking coffee cup filled with acid.
Mushrooms. Joe. Mushrooms heals all. Let's let mushrooms heal all.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe people go crazy and they come back. I'm sure if they go crazy, I know people have come back from mental illness before. It's not like it's insurmountable, but it depends upon the case, right?
Yeah. I don't know. We're just in this like weird time right now where like I think it's good because I remember the scrutiny of doing like edgy jokes before. And I don't feel like that exists now.
I think we blew that shit out.
I think we did.
I think we blew that shit out. I
Yeah.
think it's also the sheer numbers of people that listen to our podcast. It's like, hey, we're not alone.
Yeah. If the majority likes it, it wins, right?
Yeah, we're not alone. You guys
Yeah.
are wrong.
Yeah.
Like you're trapped in this ideology that you think jokes have to reflect your actual feelings about things.
No.
Like that's not the game
They
we're
reflect
playing.
the things that we feel that are fucked up.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're just trying, and we're trying to be really funny.
Bro.
Like you're missing the point. And if you're attacking us, that's
bro. I having to explain to Yeonmi Park the joke that bro.
Let me just tell everybody. Let me tell everybody when Andrew and I will text him occasionally. Yeonmi, please, I apologize. You're a lovely woman. And I really enjoy talking to you. This is not disrespectful. Not disrespectful at all, but I would text him photos of Yeonmi Park and then a photo of a weightlifter.
the fucking emoji.
The weightlifter emoji, the heavies.
So Yomi's coming on the podcast.
I know.
But I had to have a combo with her before. I had to tell her about the heavies, right?
And I didn't explain it right. The first time she was on my podcast, I was talking to Andrew about it, but he was like, "Yo, she got the heavies."
So what I said was,
we're talking about a woman who survived North Korea. She escaped North Korea when she was 13. She tells this horrific story of her journey to get to America. And then she's just like, "Yo, she got the heavies."
Son, I said on the pod as a joke, I go, bro, bro, I was about to start feeding my wife rats, right? Like, right? So as a joke, so Yomi's coming on the pod, right? And I go, I can't let her come on the pod without knowing the joke. I feel bad. Like, I want her to be inside, right? So I called her. And there's a phone convo of me trying to explain to Yeonmi what the
heavies
means. So I go,
"Oh my God.
Hey, like, I'm so grateful that you're coming on. I just want you to know something. So you're inside on the joke here. I don't want anything to be making fun of you. I just want you to be inside." And but like have you seen like people putting like the weightlift emoji underneath your Instagram, right? And she goes, she's so sweet. She goes, "Yeah, I thought that they thought I was getting fat." She thought that they were saying that she was fat the whole time.
What?
And she's coming from this country where they're not feeding her at all. And finally, she's in a place where she can eat food, and then she's getting fucking fat shamed.
Oh my
God! Instagram for it.
Imagine being her and think you met her. She's so frail.
She's tiny, bro.
She's so tiny.
Not all.
Imagine imagine thinking that she's fat,
bro. So I go, no, it's not that. And I'm stuttering. I'm like the most uncomfortable. I'm like,
I explained it.
Bro.
Is it on video?
Yes, I have video. I'll show you. And it's I go, I just well, you know how you have kind of like sneaky fat tits, and I just think you'll see it. I'll show you. Look at that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Incredible.
That's crazy.
Lovely lady.
The amazing lady. Listen. So I go. But we were just talking about that, and we call those the heavies, and it's just like a funny inside joke. And she goes, "Oh, ha ha ha! That's great. That's awesome. That's so funny. That's so funny." Blah blah blah. She thinks it's hilarious, and then comes on the pod and we joke around it. And when we were joking around with her, she said an interesting thing. She goes, "Wow, I've never had anybody make fun of me to my face." And then she goes, "Freedom is amazing."
Whoa.
And it was a cool thing. Like she goes, with her story, nobody makes fun of her. Nobody
right,
teases.
Of course.
We weren't making fun of her story. We're just busting balls and teasing. But she had never like had that happen, at least on camera.
And even that teasing is about an attractive attribute.
We were so we wanted to make sure she was. I mean, we literally have the weight, the dumb, the weight. So there's a picture. There's a picture where she's holding.
Oh my God, that's so ridiculous. Her holding up that thing that says 1,000 pounds.
But listen.
Is this too inside? Because you and I, we go back and forth.
This is culture now, bro.
Okay.
It's dude. We see people post randomly that have no clue we've spoken about it. Just randomly call big boobs the heavies. They have no clue that this happened here.
Did you invent that term, the heavies?
I don't know. I just call it the heavies.
But that was like the first time you said it when you saw her?
Probably when I said it to you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Bro, that's all I call him now.
I mean,
that's all I call him now.
People call it that. That's culture, man.
Dude.
That's culture.
We were talking about this dude with his girlfriend, like why she bossed him around. I go, yo, she got the heavies.
She got the heavies, bro. Like you could boss around if you got the heavies. It's different.
Yeah, like she's a little extra hot.
Bro, oh yeah,
Jesus,
the Nancy Pelosi's.
The
Nancy Pelosi's.
Nancy's got the heavies.
The heavies are crazy.
Yo, I got to pee so bad.
Let's take a piss.
Let me take a little pee break.
Wait, what were we just saying?
Oh, you were talking about flow state.
No, Yeonmi.
Oh, Yeonmi.
Yeah, Yeonmi. Bro, there's a funny thing that happens like having a brain that jumps to jokes all the time is like because there's a moment like I was listening to the Yomi story, and she was telling this immensely tragic story, right? Like the most tragic thing ever. But she was talking about this thing where like her mom got sold to mentally retarded farmers.
Yeah.
And it was like my brain. I didn't say it, but I wanted to know like what crop can like retards farm.
Well, it might not be a crop. It might be animals.
But a farmer, I guess farmers do have animals.
Yeah.
I just needed to know, but I couldn't ask it without it seemingly being insulting, because it seems like I'm insulting, but I'm also like, I just want to know the crop, and that's just like.
Do you want to imagine like your life being at its lowest point? Like someone sold you to mentally
Retarded.
handicapped people who are farmers.
Yeah.
And you're out in the woods somewhere. There's no cell phones. There's no electricity.
Yeah.
And you just have to exist. Almost like, it's not, you're not a caveman. You're living in modern times.
Yeah.
You're living in a time where there's electricity and televisions and movies, and probably living in a time where Rambo was on the screen. And at that same time, you are the property of mentally handicapped people that are farmers in the middle of nowhere in China.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you get out of that?
Yeah.
That's the kind of conversation I want to have with those Republican pull yourself up by your bootstraps people.
But you feel like you could
shut
escape
the
from
fuck
mentally
up.
retarded farmers, though, right? Like,
some of them are strong.
but if they weren't, what if you like gave them some ice cream or something, and then like they were really focused on that?
You can't escape from your dog, man. Your dog's stupid. People are way fucking smarter. Even dumb people are smarter than a dog. Bro, they're going to keep you around. They'll chain you up. You'd be like a pet kangaroo they have in their house. You know what's the most fucked up statistic?
What?
Is that there's more slavery today than there was before slavery was abolished in America.
But what is that, population density or something?
It's probably that, but it's also like what we consider slavery. It's like there's places where you're not a slave, but you really can't leave.
So
right?
it's like indentured servitude.
Or like cobalt mining. Like
So-
you don't have any food.
Yeah, so that's my...
Where are you going to go?
Where does our guilt extend? Like, if we outsource all the things that we're guilty about, does it leave at our border? Like,
Never. It never leaves.
Yeah.
You have a phone that's made by slaves.
But do you feel guilty about it?
Yes.
You do.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
If there was a company that came along that was like, if Samsung said, hey, we're going to make all of our phones
Cruelty-free.
Cruelty-free.
Yeah.
We're going to get all of our cobalt from this place where we can ensure you that there's nothing there and no Chinese factory workers making 16 cents a day or whatever the fuck they make.
Yeah.
It's not if there was a phone that was made in America that cost twice as much, I'd buy it in a fucking heartbeat.
But there isn't.
There isn't.
And because there isn't, what do? We put up with the guilt? Like,
well, they fucked up. They fucked us. Okay, and to be connected to something where you absolutely need it, but it's morally reprehensible at its very core. Like, imagine how many people have tweeted self-righteous things on a phone that was made by slaves.
Yep.
And that's the reality of these phones. And Apple's one of the richest fucking companies on planet Earth. I don't know what the logistics would be involved in making a phone in America with skilled labor that gets paid a fair wage and gets health insurance and union benefits and all that stuff. But whatever it is, I feel like I would like to pay that.
Do
and
we have cobalt?
maybe? And if I don't have the money, I'll buy less phones. I'll buy a phone. I have a fucking iPhone 11. One of my phone lines is an iPhone 11.
Yeah.
It's great. It still
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
It still seems so normal when I fire it up. It doesn't seem any different to me.
But do we have the mineral? Like, do we have cobalt in America that we can mine?
I don't think we do.
That's
in
the tricky thing.
America. I don't know. Is cobalt available?
I
in
thought it's
America?
only available in like the Congo.
Well, that's where the primary source is for sure. But I think there's at least one other place on Earth. I don't remember correctly.
Ooh,
Mexico?
Mexico. Let's go.
Why don't
Mexico's
we-
this shit.
Listen, we have a
dude.
problem with the cartels. Why don't we let's just like Mexico.
Do we have a problem with them? Do we have a problem with the cartels, or are we working with the cartels?
Well, for sure, someone's working with them. I mean, it's not just like 100% Mexican citizens that are sneaking across here and doing all this business. Someone's working with them. God damn, what is wrong with my throat? Yeah, someone for sure is working with them. But it's not good. It's not good to have this like fake scenario. You have a fake scenario. Say drugs are bad. If you make drugs illegal, no one's going to do drugs. Like your math sucks. Okay? Because that's not the correct math. The correct math is if you make drugs illegal, then illegal people sell drugs. You fucking asshole. And
Yeah.
so now you've propped up a multi-billion-dollar industry south of the border filled with ruthless murderers. Idaho.
Is the only cobalt mine in the United States, and it's going to remain so. Okay, so we have some
Interesting.
cobalt here. I'm sure they could find some more.
Okay, maybe we have just enough for us. How about just for us? Let's let the world make their own moral decisions. But maybe if we legitimately are the moral high ground, we could like encourage the rest of the world to realize like the same thing we were talking about earlier about having too much money. Like just don't. You can't just think about money. At a certain point in time, you have to just figure out what's best for everybody.
Yes.
And in this situation, if I was the king of the world, if I was the king of America, I would say, how about we only make phones that are in America?
Yep.
We make American-made phones with we'll have sanitary conditions that are safe and provide health care. All the things that you would hope someone working a fucking cobalt mine would get.
Yeah.
Give them a great wage. Like, make it so that this is an even exchange. It's not a negative exchange. Protect them from all the... And if we knew that the cobalt we're getting in our phone, you don't have to worry. These guys make $100,000 a year. They're fucking well paid. They live in a great community. Okay, great. Now I don't feel bad about my phone. But if you watch those videos from Foxconn, you see those fucking poor people slaving away all day long in this sweatshop, 16 hours a day. They have bunks there and shit. They put nets around the building to keep people from jumping off. That is so wild.
Yeah.
Instead of changing the conditions,
They won't
these
let
people
you
have to
kill
work.
you. That's crazy.
They're like, get back to work.
Yeah.
They grab you by your hair, fucking drag you back down onto the floor. You probably owe them money or something. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how they fucking do that.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Do you
We-
feel
you would
Yeah.
you would want everything you use in your everyday life to have a clean connection to like ethically sourced materials, great relationships with workers, no greedy corporations that are fucking over the environment. Everybody would want that.
I think they'd want that if they had excess. I think most
Yeah.
people are like trying to pay their fucking rent, and
For
they're
sure.
like, all right, if this is a little bit cheaper, I have a little bit more money for my family, my parents who are sick, and my
Yeah.
kids. Like, I can buy them another fucking baseball mitt. And so they can't even consider people in the Congo. And I think that's the tricky thing where, like, they know it's almost like the Amazon situation where it's like most people probably know that Amazon might not be the best situation for like mom and pop businesses, but it's so convenient to them and it's so much cheaper and it's so efficient that they just go, all right, well, this is great for me.
Yeah.
And-
There's that. Yeah. It is interesting, but I think that in those circumstances, when, there's people that just can't afford to buy, whatever it is, ethically sourced
Yeah.
and organically grown, all that there should be other options. But
Yeah.
if there was a clear option that someone could take, if a phone costs $1,200,
Yeah.
right?
This article I just looked up is saying that cell phones are not what's driving the cobalt price rise. It is
price
electronic-
rise.
It's batteries. It's car batteries.
But yeah, well, that was
like
the
Teslas and shit.
But that is what they use them in cell phones. It's like lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah.
8 grams of cobalt is in a cell phone.
And how much is in like a 9-volt battery?
How much cobalt in a? I don't know
Yeah.
if it's in a 9-volt, but the rechargeable battery.
That's okay. I see your point. You're right. It's like it's everything electronics. We're thinking about it as cell phones, but that's because cell phones are the primary
They just dominate our
method
life.
of communication,
Yeah.
and just how many podcasts are listened to on cell phones?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah.
Or is it like 90%? Like,
Yeah.
imagine if cell phones were made illegal and people still had to get podcasts. Like,
Done.
the majority of modern electric vehicles use these battery chemistries and lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, in which have a cathode containing 10 to 20% cobalt. And what was the cell phone?
8 grams.
8 grams. But that's a different measurement unit, right? One of them's percentage.
Yeah, I was trying
One
to
of
find
them's grams.
how many grams.
Either way, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like it's kind of for everything with lithium-ion batteries. It does something to stabilize it.
You know what it's like? It's almost like asking
4 to 30 kilograms for EV.
5%. Okay, cell structure requires a minimum amount of cobalt, about 5%, and less lower energy density. Lithium-ion batteries without cobalt are used at the expense of performance. A typical smartphone battery requires only 5 to 20 grams of cobalt, whereas an EV requires between 4 and 30 kilograms. Whoa.
It's a lot more.
It's electric cars. Electric cars are fucking up the environment. Oh, no. Isn't that like, what a conundrum?
life is
I
funny.
mean, it's not just the environment. It's like, when I'm saying the environment, I'm like the frequency of the earth.
Yes.
You know, like until somebody cleans that up, the mines, and until somebody actually looks at like every electronic thing with lithium-ion batteries is connected to this horrific crime against humanity.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Nothing.
Nothing.
Wild. All the chitter chatter, all the talk about equality and equity and helping and charity, and what about that?
We're all
not a peep.
personally responsible.
Yeah, bro,
for
this ain't a secret. It's not like a fucking X marks the spot in a pirate map.
Nope.
This is
Google.
Yeah, Google. And
Yeah.
I had Siddharth Kaur on my podcast. We talked about it in front of fucking millions of people. People know it's a thing.
Yeah.
And they're not even talking about it. They're not doing shit.
It's inconvenient.
It's
Too
very
inconvenient to care about.
It's very inconvenient.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Yeah. We're not going to stop using our phones.
Idaho Cell Phone Company.
You going to start it?
That should be the name of the company. Idaho Cell Phone Company.
Dude,
'Cause
Idaho?
they mine cobalt. Let's build this is what, if Apple was smart,
Yeah.
they'd make a deal.
Okay.
Like, you could buy iPhone, you could buy iPhone Pro, iPhone Pro Max, you could buy that, or you could buy Idaho Cell Phone Company iPhone.
Okay.
It costs $2,000, but it's made in fucking Idaho, and you get to see the photos of the people that work in the factory, and you know that everybody's getting paid well and everybody has health insurance. You know, you would do it.
Of course.
100%. It would be a big status thing to have the Idaho Cell Phone Company's iPhone.
Yes. But that is good. That is good. We reward caring about other people.
100%.
We want
Yeah.
that. We want that.
ICC.
ICC.
Idaho Cell Phone Company.
This
Like,
might
just
happen.
old school, just a fucking
Flip phone.
like the state of Idaho, like the way it's on the map, like on the back, just says ICC, and everybody know you got an ICC. Oh shit, cool, bro, helping out the environment.
Dude, this might be. Dude, fuck a blue check. You know what I mean?
Yeah, have your phones made by people who are getting paid to work.
That's
What
it.
a novel idea.
You get your own color text. It's not blue. It's not green. It's free. It's freedom.
Ooh, right, would it be purple like Prince? Yeah. You get purple text.
Purple text. You get
Right.
purple Prince
That's all they
text.
would have to do.
That's it.
Everybody would want a purple text.
Imagine a guy texts a girl with that purple text. And she got a text back with her shitty green.
Oh. No, it'd be the opposite. No guy's going to care if a girl has green. It's like, I'll buy her another phone.
Yeah, we're gonna fuck them.
Yeah.
But we're gonna level them up.
Yeah.
We're gonna make them care.
I think the
about-
more disturbing thing would be the woman who has purple.
That's
and then
intimidating.
a man has green.
you hitting her with
And you're
the
like,
green.
oh no, he hit me with an Android text. It's easily interceptable.
I can't hit
Like,
purple with green. I'm not ready for this, girl.
Yeah, there's not enough colors on my palette. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Isn't
should
it funny?
care.
Like the Android phone thing is very interesting. Like
Yeah.
they were joking around about it because Brian Simpson uses an Android phone and I have Android envy because my main phone's an iPhone, but I have an Android phone too. It's a good fucking phone. It's like there's things that suck though. The fact that you can't send things through AirDrop. AirDrop is big.
Well, that's what Apple does. Is it
Yeah,
creates
and
the moat.
and iMessage is big.
It's
They're
huge.
smart. They're very smart.
They know what they're doing, man. They're just so great at creating a moat and like making everything so seamless for you.
But they were
once
all
you're
calling
part of it.
Brian Simpson a peasant. I'm like, bro, he's got a Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. That's a $1,500 phone.
Yeah,
Like, that's
but, like,
not like a cheap phone. It's the same price
Oh.
as a really expensive iPhone. It's the best like Android phone you can get. He's just stuck in a.
But once you started with Samsung, it was poor.
The thing is, it's like
was
you're in
very
a
poor.
different little world.
Yeah, I'm
You're
in
a
that
world.
I'm part of the narrative. I'm like caught up in it, and I know it's bullshit, and I know it's not true, and I know all like the facts, and I know all like the the pixels and all that kind of shit from the Samsung are better. And I see those videos where Samsung compares it to an iPhone, and it's way better in every different version of it. And I'm still like, this is
It's not way better. It's
I thought it's-
marginally better.
Oh, I thought it's like.
The only thing that's way better is taking pictures of the moon, and it turns out it's
I saw
not
that
really
shit.
taking
I saw that
pictures
shit.
of
Dude,
the
that's
moon.
the best. You're the best. Dude, that's why you got to appreciate nerds, man. Like, you got
Yes.
to appreciate these guys who are going
I
out there,
appreciate 'em so
fact checking everything.
Bro, they took a
Yeah, break
photo
down what happened with the
of
photo.
a blurry photo of the moon on a screen.
Okay, so first of all, Samsung was claiming that their phone can take 100x zoom pictures, and they proved it by
Well, it
taking
definitely
pictures
can
of the moon.
take 100x zoom pictures, but you have to understand, like, what it's doing with that moonshot is way stronger than 100x. It's doing some shenanigans with artificial intelligence.
Right.
Because a 100, if you like do the 100 zoom on a Galaxy Ultra, it's legitimate zoom. It's not just things that it knows are going to be there, like the moon. Because the moon, you know, the moon doesn't turn. Do you know that?
What do you mean it doesn't turn?
The moon doesn't turn. We turn. The moon is locked into our orbit, and we see the same side of the moon always.
But we turn.
Yeah, but the moon turns with us.
So it turns at the
It
exact
just
same rate
goes.
that we turn.
No, it follows us. So
So we're getting the version of the moon
exactly.
at the same time.
Exactly.
But wait a minute, aren't we? So sun is here. We are
Pick up the skulls.
Yeah. So so this is us.
Yeah.
Hold on. This is gonna be. Fun. This is us.
Right.
Moon.
Yeah.
Moon is rotating around us. We're rotating around the sun.
Exactly.
So you're saying the moon is rotating around us the exact same.
The moon is
speed.
rotating around us, but not rotating. So
It
it's not
doesn't-
spinning as
we
it's
spin.
rotating. We spin.
So
and
it-
it follows us.
Why doesn't it spin? That I don't understand.
Because it follows us. Like, say, look, like here's the palm of my
So
hand.
it's-
Well, I'll show you right here. Watch me. Watch me. Here's the palm of my hand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now imagine this is the Earth.
Yeah.
Imagine the Earth is spinning.
Okay.
And the palm of my hand follows the Earth as it spins, but you only see this palm of my hand. You don't see my knuckles. You don't see the back of my hand. You see the palm of my hand because it never spins. So the moon, when we see the moon, so like if you're looking out and you see the moon, you see the same moon every night because you never see a moon that's spinning. The moon doesn't spin.
Hence, dark side of the moon.
Exactly.
Ah.
Exactly. So that's why it's a moon and not an individual planet because it's as big. It's actually bigger than Pluto, right?
Oh,
and
an
Pluto
individual
was a planet
would
for
be
a long
locked into the
time.
gravity of the sun.
Exactly.
But since it's locked in our
Exactly.
gravity,
Exactly. It's a moon. Yeah. You know, that's see how it works? See, as the Earth spins,
oh wow.
the moon gives us the same face constantly. So we come around and see it because the moon's gone, then the moon's there.
What's
but
on
we
the
always
other
see the
side?
same side.
Anything interesting?
Aliens.
Do you think?
Aliens and
Do you think?
Nazis, mostly Nazis.
Nuts. The aliens pick the worst group of people to collaborate with.
Or the best.
What if aliens just cared about like technology so much? They're like, oh, these guys got some good ideas, and they
Yeah.
didn't even learn about any of the other shit.
Well-
They just were like, who understands rocket propulsion the best?
Imagine if they thought about us the same way we think about like wasps.
Where it's just like, it doesn't matter.
Like,
I'll
let
pick
them kill
one.
each other. Like,
Dude,
but they're really good
how-
at designing engines.
And eventually we get up there and we go, listen, buddy, there's some pretty bad other shit going on
Yeah.
with the Nazis. And we have to explain to them like what Jewish people are. Like, imagine that conversation.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay, but the engines are amazing. They have BMWs, the shit. Like,
They're into the cars. They don't even, have you seen an SL500?
bro, E46 BMW M3. Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
So is that the thing? Is that what they think? Is that
Well,
is that the conspiracy?
there's the
Give me the conspiracy. No facts associated whatsoever.
Well, the conspiracy is that there was connections between the Nazis and the occult. And this is the thing that they always talk about, like maybe even Satanism, maybe even summoning evil entities from other dimensions. And that, you know, the real conspiracy is that, like, if you think about the amount of horrific things they did,
Yeah.
they were absolutely abhorrent,
Yeah.
absolutely, like, contrary to what we would think of as been the best values of human nature.
Yeah.
And the whole country got behind this. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
How did they kill so many people?
Yeah.
If you were a person who was inclined to, and I'm not saying I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't believe in demons and Satan. I'm not saying I don't, because I think that's foolish too.
So just
Imagine if it
completely
was
write it
real.
off. Yeah. You see that type of evil, you go, okay,
Yeah.
well maybe that's associated with something.
But you gotta think something happened during that time where the world dipped into a darker dimension than it's ever experienced in at least in the lifetimes of those people that experienced that. Like, what is that? Like, what the fuck causes that?
So you
Is
think that they
demons?
tap into something? They tap into a dark energy.
I think it's a part of everything and maybe a part of us, which is why you can talk about the Mongols and what the fuck they did, and why you talk about the Comanches and how it took like 100 years for people to conquer Texas because they just kept getting slaughtered.
Unbelievable
Everybody
savagery.
got slaughtered.
Yeah. Well, they also had that horse tech.
They have horse tech. They also had multiple arrows in their fingers, and these dudes had muskets. It was musket time. It wasn't until they came up with the Colt 45. It wasn't Colt 45. It was
The revolver.
yeah, Colt revolver.
Colt revolver.
Colt revolver was the first time they ever could shoot more than once at a time, and it changed the game.
Not enough spoken about that in history and how that like carved out America on the planet. Did the Colt 45 create?
It wasn't a Colt
America?
45, whatever
Sorry,
the
did the
Colt revolver, yeah.
create America.
It kind of did, because if someone didn't come up, they didn't think that was necessary in war, so they weren't even going to like utilize it. And then the Texas Rangers were the first people to go, I think I see a fucking need to shoot multiple bullets.
Yeah, 'cause these guys got 4
and
arrows.
rapid fire. 'Cause these
Yeah.
guys were riding on horseback, shooting under the horse's neck.
So they would dip
They
to
would
the
hang
side
themselves
of
on the side. They would hold on to the side of the horse, and they would shoot past the horse's neck.
What is holding them on the side?
They're
Are they
like
saddled or are
stirrups.
they
They're
bareback?
Like, they would do bareback. They would hold on. They had incredible grip with their legs, but they had like different reins and things and ways they would hold on to the horses. But you would just hang on to the horse and shoot underneath its body, so it used its body as a
As
shield
a fucking shield.
until bang, 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 bang.
Good luck.
And then they're like, "Oh no!"
It's over.
Apparently, there's some wild stories about medicine men that blessed their warriors. They would there were real shaman, and then there was also con men, even in the world of Native Americans. Like, we want to think about Native Americans like they were, they were in tune with the land.
They
and
also had
only
snake
used-
oil salesmen.
They had snake oil. They did. So they had fake medicine men. They would tell them, "I will put a spell on you, and you will never be killed by the white man's bullet." And so they would do this fucking. They were just making it up. And then all of a sudden this dude's got a Henry rifle and he's shooting from 200 yards.
What
And
Henry rifle is the
a Henry rifle is like an old school
pump
Wild
action.
West
Yeah, yeah.
rifle, and they were shooting people. What does a Henry rifle look like? It is a pump action, right? The old school ones. Show me a photo of one of them old school. It says, well, the Henry rifles, they still make Henry rifles today. They make some dope rifles, but this is back then. And then this dude's head's exploding 100 yards away, and they're like, oh no, because now they're realizing these guys can shoot from really far. They can shoot from several hundred yards away with some of these like more modern rifles.
Well, that's like when did rifles become accurate? Because my understanding of the muskets it was kind of a guess,
Kind of a guess.
right? Like it, right? Like I was reading a little bit about muskets, and it was like I think
Yeah.
it wasn't until they did like the spiraled barrel or something like
It's
that.
called rifling. That's why it's called a rifle. See, the difference between a rifle and a musket is not just the way the powder knocks. You had a flint, and the flint would make a
And then
spark.
goes.
It would light the gunpowder, and the ball would go.
Yeah.
But a rifle actually has rifling. So there's like a pattern to the barrel.
So it
the
spins
inside.
the bullet
has
as it
the bullet
comes out.
spinning. Okay, so you shot that arrow today,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you notice the back of the arrow, it has fletchings.
Those are
Do you see
the
those?
wings on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
now
that-
in the old days, those were feathers.
Yeah.
They would use them to steer the arrow, but now we use like a plastic. And those feathers, those are AAE max veins. And so they're all like at an angle, and there's 4 of them. So as that arrow's coming, it's twisting and turning.
Oh, you
It's
want the
spinning.
turn because the spin is what creates the accuracy.
Exactly. It keeps it accurate. And then there's also broadheads that accentuate the damage that's caused up by the spin. There's a type of broadhead called a single bevel broadhead. So like this is a real Native American broadhead. That's a real one.
So this would be the tip of an arrow.
Yes.
This has
That's a
been on
real
an
one.
arrow.
That was, who knows how many hundreds of years old before someone pulled it out of the ground. Yeah. Yeah, that's old as fuck. I mean, maybe it was from the 1800s, maybe it was from the 1700s. But so that is an ancient broadhead, right? Now, a modern one, they have ones that have an edge like this on one side, but not on the other. And what
Explain that.
happens is, so like, see how there's an edge here and there's an edge here
Yeah.
on both sides,
Yeah.
okay? If it's beveled in on both sides to a point, it looks like a teepee,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But if it's only on one side, it looks like that. And when it's on one side, it causes it to spin through the body cavity.
Oh, so it just
and
tears
cause
up
more
your body
damage.
when it gets in
Yeah,
there.
it continues to spin.
Oy.
That's called a single bevel broadhead.
Oh, it's like a hollow tip. Their version of a hollow tip bullet.
Their version of a hollow tip. But very good because it penetrates bone, because it's a single blade. There's a lot going on with those things, man.
When you see in the movies where they do the thing where they snap the arrow and they pull it out, I guess the other side.
You could do that.
Is that how you? Okay, let's say you get shot with an arrow. Arrow stuck. Is it just yank out the opposite way, or is it snap
No, you want to push it through.
and then push it through?
Yeah, if it's poking out your back, definitely don't try to pull it back. 100%. Also, leave it in. If you get shot with an arrow and it's poking out of your body, leave it in and get to a hospital.
Because you'll be able to stop the bleeding, hopefully in the hospital. But if it just
the,
starts
the,
to go,
s- the arrow in your body will help stop bleeding far more than pulling the arrow free. Then everything would just bleed.
oh, and then also like the what is
What do
this?
you
This
mean?
guy got hit by it.
Oh my God, he got shot in the on the
that's
eyeball during a riot. He got shot in the eyeball with an arrow. Oh
Okay,
my
okay.
God.
How
That's
mu-
so insane.
How much accuracy? How much accuracy do you have when you're shooting a parabola? So you're not shooting straight like we did today,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're going for distance and it's just up in the air, like you see in like medieval fights.
Right.
How much accuracy is that? Like just fucking plain.
Well, you never do that, right? Like if you're trying to shoot an animal, is that what you mean?
no, I mean like when it's like
person?
human to human. It's like
Yeah.
you're just shooting
You have
because
to judge it. Yeah. It's like throwing a softball. Like I don't do that kind of archery, so I'm speaking a little bit out of tune. But when you throw a softball, like if you throw a lot of balls, or a hard ball,
Yeah.
you get accustomed to like how it feels when you let that ball go and
Yeah.
you know where that
Oh,
catcher's
it's like
mitt's going to
with
be.
football. If you're
Right.
going long, you're just sending it. Yeah.
You don't get as much information from a bow and arrow, because it's like you're launching something, whereas this you're throwing something, but it's kind of similar in that there's a feedback loop. And then as you shoot more arrows, you get more and more accustomed to knowing where that arrow is going to go with distance. But it's a brutal process of elimination and information and calculation, and it's not easy. Like what we did today is so much easier than like a recurve bow. When you just have like a wood bow and you're like, boink. Like you have to release it yourself. You're using your fingers to let it go.
Bro, I mean, I don't have any ego to say that there's no way I could hold it back and maintain the accuracy.
Well, it's like something else. It's like anything else. You have to build on it. Like you wouldn't just get good at it really quick.
That's strength, dude. Like
Yeah.
that is. Yeah, when I pulled it back and it locked, I was like, okay, I can kind of focus on this front part
Yeah.
a bit, but then my hand is all fucking shaky. Yeah,
John
yeah,
Dudley
that's
doing a
oh, is that?
500
Oh,
yard
John
shot.
Dudley doing a 500-yard bow shot.
It kind of comes down. It doesn't go like straight. It comes
Oh,
down
wow.
on this thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you got to think it's not going that fast.
Are you
Like an-
calculating wind and shit?
Oh yeah, you definitely would for that.
I mean, that's
So he's just trying to land on his target.
Far.
yeah, that's just crazy.
John did a thing for us back at On It where he shot. Jesus Christ. Got something in my throat.
Save that voice. We got shows tonight, Joe.
Yeah, it's not like it's like I swallowed something. John had I think it was a 120-yard shot into a kettlebell. Yeah, this is it. Look at this.
I mean, this is crazy.
So he shot it into the handle of a gorilla kettlebell. Look at that. Bam. How crazy that.
It's crazy. Oh, it was lit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His lighted knocks. But you know how wild that is, that shot? I mean, that's insane. But you can't do that with a regular bow. Like a recurve bow, that's not available. You can only do that with a compound bow.
Dude,
But they did have some recurve bows that would be like, the Mongols had ones that would take 160 pounds to draw back. So if you think about
Today
the bow,
was what? Today,
80.
80.
So that one was 80. Now imagine double that.
Forget
and
it,
you have
dude.
to hold it. It's like,
And then aim it. Yeah.
I mean, they must have just been fucking jerked.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
must have been 160-pound bows. That's crazy.
I want to learn. I want to read more about that. Like, I just want to. Yeah. Just what is the competitive advantage with all these different groups? Like, what was the Romans' competitive advantage? Do you know?
If I had to guess, they had a high level of sophistication when it came to military strategy. They had, I mean, they had so much money. I think
So it was
that's a
just
big
money
part of it.
from
I mean,
trade.
How does it not have to? I mean, if you're going to arm your people and you want to pay them and pay your soldiers, you want to give them fucking armor and weapons and shit. Like, the more money you have, the more weapons. The
And
more
what is that
horses,
money
the
coming
more
from?
everything.
Resources,
Stealing
Like,
from people.
so that's what they're just like going in. They're taking all the shit, and then
I would imagine there's a lot of things going on.
wait a minute. That actually makes sense. That if your business is you're essentially like a pirate. Like if your business is just conquest and then stealing, you need to continue to expand the empire to continue to feed it.
Yeah.
And then the bigger the empire gets, the less that money affects the rest of the empire. So you reach a certain level where you just can't sustain it.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just go crazy.
Yeah.
You go crazy like the son of a rich man who's doing coke in a mansion. You just go fucking crazy.
Bro, that's what they said. No, that's what they said that guy was. What was his name? Oh, fuck. And they said it was the lead pipes. He didn't drink from the water. Marcus Aurelius' son was...
Oh, Commodus. No.
No.
No. What was Marcus Aurelius' son? The evil son, right?
Yeah, Zeno? Zenit? Doesn't matter. But I guess they said that...
Joaquin Phoenix.
yeah.
Commodus.
Oh, you were right.
I was right.
Okay, maybe it wasn't a function of just like this guy came up in extreme wealth and opportunity and whatever. Maybe it was a function of like they didn't understand the lead pipes made you fucking crazy, and for the first time he was every bit of water that he drank was from those lead pipes.
Oh my! For the first time.
Think about it.
No way. He was the first person like that. Generation was the first generation.
Well, Aurelius was Aurelius born into it?
I don't know.
Because when I was in Rome and I was looking
Is this like a widely studied theory? The lead
this
pipes
was a guy
theory?
told me when I was at the Coliseum.
Definitely an article in Science about it.
Did lead poisoning bring down ancient
because they didn't
Rome?
know. For them, like the idea that there was like water and there was accessible water that was actually good for you was for the rich only. And what if that's all you had? Of course you're going to go crazy, because at the beginning of his reign, he wasn't that crazy. And then my man just went wild. So, yeah, it could have been the lead pipes. Tap water from ancient Rome likely contained 100 times more.
100 times more lead than local spring
Think about
water.
that. And all the poor people
rich
don't
people
have
can-
fucking plumbing, so they're getting water from a river.
Isn't that a little bit of karma? Isn't that a little bit of karma?
Life works in mysterious
use a lot
ways.
too.
Sometimes the universe...
Oh, it will.
Sometimes
will
the universe
correct, my
just
boy.
sends you a message. You remember when Heather McDonald blacked out on stage when she was talking about the vaccine? I mean, I don't mean to diss on her. She's a nice lady. But has there ever been a time where the universe is like, yo,
bro, have you
hang
seen?
on.
There's a compilation. Like, have you seen the in like the gay dancing where they do like the fall?
Yes, I have that. Yes,
There's a
yes,
compilation.
yes.
There's a
Of all
compilation
the different people blacking
of
out.
all the people like falling as part of the gay dancing, and then Heather just dropping.
Yeah.
But she was really going off about how proud she was about like being boosted, a few times and
hilarious.
yeah.
But it's like the universe is like, hey,
You're going too far.
You guys
Going
are going
too far now.
This whole
Yeah.
fucking world's going too far. How about that?
Yeah. Drop.
That's why people believe in God.
Well, okay.
Stuff like that.
You
They go,
believe in-
maybe there is a fucking someone watching over
I
this.
hope so.
I hope so too.
And what if religion is just the language that you can speak to him and he speaks to you?
Yeah.
Because they all more or less say the same things.
Very similar.
And what if they're up there, they're going, I don't really mind what language you speak, as long as you're doing these things, because I think it will help you. It's not even like a narcissism thing, which is like, hey, if you do these things, you're probably going to live a better life and enjoy this life, this gift that I've given you.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's it. Because, what is it, the Pascal's wager? Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
I kind of subscribe to that. I was raised with no religion, but it's like, I'd rather live life thinking there was a God. and
Yeah.
live
That's
life-
Jordan Peterson's position too.
Yeah. I think there's something to it.
There certainly could be.
Do you think it? You think there's someone out there?
I don't think we should think of it as a someone, because I have a feeling that's part of the problem. Like, we pretended that God's some dude in a skirt, a fucking robe in the sky. You know, they wear weird clothes, and back before they had cell phones. Like, what? God? Really? What is that? Like, why are we depicting him like that?
Yeah.
If you just are honest about how people tell stories, if you just really just don't think about what you know to be true and what you believe and what your faith tells you, just like what you know about human beings and stories.
Yeah.
Every time human beings have told a story, like if you wanted to talk to someone from Oliver North's family about like what happened with Rick Ross and cocaine sales in South Central Los Angeles, and did they use the money to fund the Contras versus the Sandinistas in
they would never do
Nicaragua?
that.
Like what?
They would never do
His
that.
family doesn't believe that, right? Because they have a very specific narrative. And then 100 years from now, Ronald Reagan would be like the greatest, most noble American that's ever lived. And to some people, he is today. So it's like these narratives shift and swing and change over time depending on who tells them, which is why censorship is so dangerous. And it's why ideological narratives are so dangerous. Because if you don't tell me the truth about history, I don't know what to not fuck up again.
But what is the truth about how we treat each other? I feel like there is a truth there.
Yeah.
And I think there are. Well, you can judge a religion by like by its fruit. Like there's a reason why Judaism was successful. There's a reason why Christianity comes around and it's successful. And there's a reason why Islam comes around and it's successful. It has to have fruit. It can't just be, I'm forcing you to do this. The people have to enjoy what they're getting from it for it to be successful.
100%. Yeah.
So they needed it in the time. You know, like I almost wonder if you look at religions as like girlfriends, like every new one is a reaction to the last one. Like Judaism was like very strict, and there's all these rules, and you can't eat this and you can't do that. And then like Christianity comes around and it's just like, hey, bro, I love you. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you did something fucked up. I love you. You know what I mean? Like, it's right. Like, there's some
Just say you're sorry.
That's it.
Just say you're sorry.
Say sorry, and I
Okay,
love you.
we
Come to
forget
heaven. And then like, then it got too crazy. Maybe like not too crazy, but then maybe it was taking advantage of too much. It was like, I don't even need much from you. And then people were like, all right, well, I'm not going to do much. And then Islam comes around and it's like, oh, you weren't even praying once every week? Like, now you're going to do it 5 times a day.
5 times a day.
Yeah. Happy Ramadan, by the way. I think today's the first day of
Is
Ramadan.
today?
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a function of like what humans might need. Like, I almost think about like what is popular now in society and culture, like these figures, like Jordan is a perfect example, like you're a perfect example. Like I think we as Americans have kind of like left religion, we still need the structure.
Yeah.
And like even like telling somebody to get in an ice bath in the morning. Like that's a religious act. Maybe it's not done for God, but there's a consistency there. There's something that you do that makes you feel good. Like I feel like we've found a way to like a la carte the different structures that religion provided us now that we don't have religion.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that about the ice bath because I think that sometimes it is a ritual for me, and it's also like a silent thing. I'm doing it completely by myself, and the just commitment to it. I think there's something. Also, it's like super uncomfortable, and when it's super uncomfortable, but you still do it every day, it's like you get like a little bit of you win one little battle every day.
What about religion has to be comfortable for you?
Yeah.
Religion doesn't have to be comfortable.
That's why there's something good in that one. It's like there's like a physical barrier that you have to get through for 3 minutes every day. And if you can get through that barrier, like you will have like a better day.
Yeah.
Which seems so stupid.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, bro. I ain't doing that shit. I tried it. I can't. I don't like the cold, bro.
You think I like it?
I think you like defeating it.
You don't defeat it. You never win.
I think you like
No.
challenge, and I think you like conquering challenge.
You just you don't conquer this. You just tolerate it. That's the best part. You can never win.
Is that the win, though?
You can never win. It's going to be 34 degrees to the end of time. How long can you hang out in there? You don't win. You never win with the cold plunge.
Maybe that's the.
You can't defeat it.
That's the ego check.
You can't be like, I am the fucking freeze man. Even Wim Hof has to get out of the ice bath. You have to get out. You'll die.
So maybe that's the humility. Maybe that's like it's related to something like the jujitsu of it. Like you're gonna get tapped by somebody.
Right. There's something to that for sure.
And maybe we need that. Maybe we need to be humbled.
I think so.
It's healthy for us to be humbled.
I think you need something that takes away your ability to control it. And the cold plunge is uniquely good because it's voluntary. Like no one's forcing you to do it. You climb in there. You have a little victory by getting yourself in there. And then you like watch a timer and count it down. And when 3 minutes are up, you get out and you won. You won. You did it. It sucked. You didn't want to do it, but you did it. So now the whole day is like you know how to suck it up. You know how to deal with bullshit. You know how to overcome something that's not fun, and you did it on purpose. And it'll aid you. It'll aid you in other things that are frustrating or,
But you're on it. It's like at a time where we can look at our phone and be distracted and feel good whenever we want. At a time where we can get a nice, cozy feeling of distraction whenever we want. We're forcing ourselves to do things that are inconvenient.
Yeah.
That make us suffer.
And
it's
very important.
Through that suffering, we find
I think it's very important.
some happiness.
Yeah. I think it helps. I think your body is designed to overcome a certain amount of anxiety
Adversity.
and stress and adversity and challenges and fear. And if you don't burn that out, I think that's why so many people are on medications. I think they need medication to get through life, and I think you need life to get through medication. That's what I think.
You're more resilient than you realize.
Yeah,
and you
way
need to
more.
test
Everybody
that resilience.
is.
That's what sports does.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bro,
you need to test your resilience.
think about this thing that we talked about with Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock's theory about the comet impacts from 12,000 years ago. Modern civilization, as people talk about it today, started the way we talk about it today, and like in conventional academic circles, they say it started 6,000 years ago.
Yeah.
That means that if Graham is right and if Randall is right and their theory is right, that means that people lived in utter barbarism for 6,000 years before they started to reinvent agriculture and mathematics. For 6,000 years, they probably slayed each other with sticks and rocks.
Seems hard to believe, no?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Oh, you think it is?
I think that is what happened.
I think at certain places I think that happened. I think in other places there was remnants of the ancient technology, and I think they lived in different ways.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps, but there's not a lot of evidence. The evidence shows that like Mesopotamia, particularly like Sumer, like that seems to be the oldest shit that we can find.
Yeah.
In terms of like until these Randall Carlson, Graham Hancock type theories came along, nobody entertained the thought of like the pyramids being older or the Sphinx being older. Like it wasn't until like the 1990s that people started talking about that. They've always just like assumed the timeline was accurate, and that timeline was like 6,000 years ago, ancient Sumer. It's the first mathematics, the first written language. It's like a version of some of the stories from the biblical flood. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which comes from this ancient Sumerian culture, very similar to Noah's Ark.
A little bit.
Very similar.
But you find these similar stories everywhere.
Because it happened.
And it happened in different places.
Yeah.
Because it was a common thing.
Yep.
Flood was common.
Yeah.
Cataclysm was maybe common.
Not just that, but instantaneous flooding and cataclysm that comes from meteors slamming into the fucking ice caps.
Yeah. Or think about how they would react to a hurricane. Yeah. I mean, think about how simple we view a hurricane and what that does. Or tornado. The damage that does to a city. Now, that's a city that has like buildings made of concrete and stone.
Right.
Imagine tents, right? Imagine people living more or less outside. The devastation that would cause. It's a different life.
What's the part of the world that has the most hurricanes?
Caribbean?
Is it Caribbean?
I would assume the Caribbean.
Makes sense, right? Like warmer water, right? Like the Atlantic is a warmer water.
Come up from Africa, cross over,
Mm-hmm.
and then they hit the Caribbean. And I don't know. Like, I wonder if you could like tie cultural attributes to cataclysm. Like, you go to the Caribbean and there's like this incredible like love and kindness and support, like Latin culture that you feel, and it's just like, yeah, maybe we should focus on that shit. Maybe we should help each other out. Maybe we don't need to build a skyscraper.
Right.
Maybe we need to dance today. Maybe
Right,
we
because the fucking sky gods might come down and wipe out your whole village.
Japan
Right.
is actually
No shit.
number one on that list.
Countries most exposed to tropical cyclones worldwide in 2022.
like it makes sense that like up in
Wow, Japan's number one.
well they
And
have
then the Philippines,
oh yeah, the cyclones and shit.
then the Bahamas, and then South Korea,
Yeah,
Antigua and Barbuda.
that's in
Is Barbuda Barbados? No, different
I
place.
think so. Yeah,
China, Cuba, of course Cuba, right?
Dominican Republic, Cuba,
Vietnam,
Bahamas,
Mexico,
all
Dominica.
that.
Wow.
And then Mexico, of course, I imagine.
Florida,
on that
not even on the list.
side. They don't even touch them. But yeah, that's
now,
the
what
beauty.
about tornadoes? Is that like exclusively an American problem?
Well, I would want to know how the natives spoke about tornadoes,
right.
because they're the ones who probably had to
Right.
deal with them for 1,000
What the
years.
Fuck that. Imagine trying to get away from a tornado on a
On
horse.
horseback.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
USA owns that category.
Oh my god. What's that?
USA owns that
Like
category.
why? Like
Oh, we own it.
Yeah, most
That's
most
right,
biggest, most
bitches.
destructive
We-
in
Number one.
what is it?
Fucking number
What is that
one,
Tosh
tornadoes,
joke?
bitch.
What is that Tosh joke? That's why they're so fat in Oklahoma, so they'll stay on the ground. Bro, Tosh is a goat, man. Dude, love Tosh. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I
love
think
him too.
I think
Great
you can
guy.
like I don't know. I think you can look at culture and the way that it has evolved through the circumstances they had to deal with. It's
Right.
like you look at like Canadians, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, Canadians are so nice, and it's like, think about how difficult life was in Canada before big cities. I'm talking about go to Calgary. I'm talking about go to Edmonton. Like, yeah, your neighbor's going to be nice to you when your life is dependent on it.
Yeah, it's negative 90
Negative
outside.
fucking 90 degrees. We all have a cattle farm or horses, and the hay isn't there, and we need to feed them. I need to be able to go to you and be like, hey, do you have some hay? Because all my cattle are going to fucking die. That's going to create some kindness. You live in New York where like the elements aren't going to affect it that much, and like you can kind of check out for most things, and as long as the water's pretty good and the food, yeah, we can be rude to one another because we can afford to be. We don't rely on each other as much.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like culture is like dependent on like how much you need to rely on one another and like what the elements provide you.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, look how
it's like you think of like how like how disciplined and how good the engineering of the Germans were, but like you had to be on top of your fucking game if you're living in that freezing mountain weather, right?
Yeah, why were they good?
It's a good question. They were so good. They were so good at engineering.
Was there like a focus on intelligence? Was there a focus on like studying? Was there a focus on
I wish I knew the
education?
answer to that. But there had to be something, because you think Audi, Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, Porsche.
Yeah, they were teaching that stuff there
Industrial
before the United
Revolution
States
played a
was a
critical
country.
role.
So.
The Industrial Revolution played a critical role in catapulting Germany into engineering stardom. The Dresden Academy of Engineers was founded in 1743, where subjects such as mathematics, fortress construction,
Hilarious. But you also look at like
mechanics, and the study of machinery were taught.
where all of like the great classical what is it called
Music.
all the great classical
Juilliard?
no the classical composers.
Okay.
I think most of them are from Germany as well. Like Germany must have experienced like a level of opulence for an extended period of time where like they could just go, I'm going to be an orchestra conductor. Like that's shit got to be good for a
Right.
while.
A long time.
Where your job is blowing into a fucking horn. Right? Like think about like in human history, how long has it been where you could blow into a horn for a living?
Yeah.
So maybe they just had that for hundreds of years, and because of that, they could develop all this crazy shit. While everybody's basically trying to stay alive, trying to get to another season, like hoping it rains.
Could be.
Because
Well, there certainly has to be some sort of an effect.
Dual education system back long time ago where they would split up theoretical and practical knowledge.
Wow. The study program combines the technical knowledge with the commercial expertise and is building networks between the subjects, which can be essential for the later job world.
Because this is what Germany had. France had the thinkers, but they're like, we're not going to do shit.
Philosophers.
Exactly.
Smoke cigarettes. Get my
think,
dick sucked.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm going to get my dick sucked.
Yeah.
Guy, girl, don't matter.
Yeah.
Right? But like,
what are you saying? Freedom fries.
But Germany was like, nah, we need some science too.
Yeah.
So France is
It's
just
cold out here. We
Heat
need
it up.
better engines.
and
Bro.
France was just like, how many different espressos can we make?
Imagine if those motherfuckers came up with a bomb first.
The French?
No, the Germans. They're probably pretty close.
Where did Einstein come from?
Germany. Albert Einstein. Well, Oppenheimer too, right? Where's he from?
Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, Oppenheimer's not from
No,
Operation
I mean, but like
Paperclip. Oh yeah,
that-
Operation
Historically
Paperclip.
speaking.
Wasn't that mostly NASA scientists though?
But weren't they all
Yeah, I
from?
guess.
Weren't
Well,
they
it's
all
all
from- After the war,
rocketry,
but-
you know, and
Yeah.
rockets were used to deliver bombs too.
Yeah.
Like the rocketry program in Berlin was insane. Like Werner von Braun was an absolute legitimate Nazi who was in charge of a rocket factory in Berlin where they would hang the slowest Jews in front of the rocket factory. So when people would walk through, they would realize, like, this is the penalty if you work slow. That's Werner von Braun.
And then we
That's the
hired
guy, we fucking brought him over from the Nazis to run our NASA program to get us to the moon.
Is that like the version? Is that like Michael Jackson?
What do you mean?
Where like the work is so good, you just like forget about the
Right,
fuck
it's-
shit.
right.
like
Wanna see Musama Makusa, never see Musama Makusa. 1943, the United States launched the ALOS mission, a foreign intelligence product focused on learning the extent of Germany's nuclear program. By 1944, however, the evidence was clear the Germans had not come close to developing a bomb and had only advanced to preliminary research.
Wow.
How far away do you think it came from us going from preliminary research to the Manhattan Project? Like, how long was that? Thank God they didn't do it, though. Jesus
What is
Christ.
that
Just
shit
imagine.
right there, bro?
Oh, isn't that dope? That's a Japanese artist made it for me. Isn't that sick?
Bro, the Japanese are on some shit, bro.
Definitely.
We need to look into
You
the
know,
Japanese.
that's the only people that the Mongols didn't take over?
And why?
Because the samurais fucked them up. The Mongols showed up and they tried to take over Japan on several occasions, more than one occasion. And every time they were met with these fucking dudes who actually knew how to fight and were sword trained, were shooting arrows at distances. And they're like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here? Like, they were like if you think about samurais.
What the
Think
fuck
about
was a samurai? Like,
Japan was the origins of karate, judo, jujitsu. All that shit came out of Japan.
but we're talking
All
about
of it.
feudal Japan. Like, we're talking
Yeah.
about kingdoms and
Those
such.
cyclones saved them.
Japanese have always attributed their victory to storms and that wrecked the Mongols' fleets during both attempted invasions in 1274 and 1281. They concluded that Japan was protected from invasion by a divine wind, or kamikaze, which was invoked in World War II to inspire pilots to launch suicide attacks on Allied ships. So it could be storms, but also they fought. They definitely had hand-to-hand combat.
And a samurai was like, what is the equivalent of that today? Is that like is that a military dude or is that
it's
like a
military
street dude?
I mean, eventually they became Ronins. There was like a period of time during Musashi's era where there were mostly like samurais without a master. And they would have like one-on-one duels. That's like the Book of Five Rings is based on Miyamoto Musashi's writings about
I don't know the book.
the greatest book of strategy, and like it was a guy who killed 62 men, at least 60 men in one-on-one armed like sword fights.
Because you could come up to someone and just be like, it's
They
on.
would make duels. They would decide to have duels, and I don't
And
know
that's
if they
to
were-
the death.
to the death with swords.
Fucking.
And Musashi killed everybody.
he was that
and he
dude.
just became the boogeyman. Yeah, he became the boogeyman. But his philosophy was that to be a great swordsman, you had to be good at calligraphy, you had to be good at poetry, you had to be able to make art.
Bro, imagine the dude that killed your dad was a poet. Bro, imagine your dad died, and then the next day he's like, flowers are green, flowers are blue.
I don't think we're talking about like haikus. I think we're talking about different kinds of poetry.
But he's trying to be well-rounded, I guess.
100%. Yeah, that any holes in your game, any like fake shit will expose itself in one-on-one combat.
I wonder if like John Jones would be the modern-day version of the elite samurai.
Well,
Like,
I
are we
mean-
looking at these guys like these UFC dudes? Are we like, oh, this is the modern day version of it? We just have a structure for them to operate in.
it's sort of like that, but it's actually probably more satisfying to the fighter because you're a modern day version in a thing where you're not going to get killed,
Right.
but you could get killed, right? There is that
Absolutely.
reality. Most likely you won't. They have very good medical staff, but there's also that you are competing with your willpower, your technique, your knowledge, your fucking physical gifts, and you're doing it in front of the world.
Yeah.
And the rewards, like if you want to be John Jones, like good luck. It's a lot of work. But if you get to be John Jones, like wow. Imagine that feeling. Imagine that feeling of strangling Cyril Gahn like fucking minute into the fight. And everybody being like, wow, he's the GOAT. That's
The
it.
baddest man on the planet.
He's the GOAT. Yeah, there's no one thinks like Tyson Fury could beat John Jones in a fight.
Isn't that fucking interesting?
No one thinks that. Tyson doesn't think that. You want to talk about who's the baddest man on the planet? If John Jones and Tyson Fury are locked into a room,
Game over.
I'm pushing all my chips on black. I'm just fucking. I'm like, let me tell you something. Tyson Fury's an amazing boxer. He doesn't have a fucking chance in hell of making it out of that room.
That crazy?
He has no chance of making it out of that room.
Isn't that crazy?
Zero chance.
So if you're,
he would have to like catch John.
you have to
with,
catch
like,
him immediately.
Immediately with one punch, and I just don't see that happening, man. The threat of the takedown looms so large. That shot will come so unexpectedly. When he gets his hands around you, you'll be so stunned.
So what is that like being John? Like, what is that like thinking there isn't another man on the planet that could do anything to you in hand-to-hand combat?
Pretty awesome.
Fuck.
Yeah, I'm sure he feels great.
Fuck.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Wow.
It's also a fleeting thing, right? Because when you get to be 40 and 42 and 43, it goes away. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
What about his brothers? Did you think he thinks he could fuck up his brothers?
Dude, what great sperm.
It's a good question. Yeah.
I mean, just talent.
Mm-hmm.
Just unbelievable talent, and then will too. Like, it's not only the ability, it's not only the genetics. It's like all of them have committed themselves to something and raced to the top of it. Like,
I think it's also them competing against each other. I think that's a factor that makes them so good because
don't you
there's
think,
three
like-
elite alpha males in the house together.
but don't you think it's like they had to be raised in a culture where competition was valued? If they-
100%. Yeah.
like-
But also just having three elite athletes grow up together. Like they're competing with each other every day in the fucking house. So you're you're always on edge.
There was that story about oh God, who was that? There was a baseball player where like his cousin was an elite pitcher, and I forget this baseball player's name, and like fuck, I'm forgetting. He played for the Yankees. He played for a bunch of teams, but it's like his cousin who like kind of grew up with was like an elite pitcher, and it's like, of course he has the fastest wrists in the business. Because since he's been fucking 9 years old, he's had an elite pitcher pitching at him in their backyard.
Whoa.
And he's been turning that fucking bat over nonstop, trying to figure it out. That's what you need.
Right.
That's what you need.
Right. That's what you need. Yeah, there's no substitute for uncomfortable things. And sucking at something is uncomfortable. And the only way you get better at something is like realize that as good as you think you are at it, there's other levels. And that like if you think you can fucking hit that fastball because like you just know you're just different, like no you don't know shit until you actually do it. Then you strike out and you feel like a loser, right? Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
Like the point like of all these things, it's like you're chasing some sort of adulation, excitement of excellence, but also you're killing your ego because your ego is the only thing that's gonna fuck you up. Your ego is gonna lie to you about how good you are about something. You think about you instead of think about the task.
Yeah.
You're going to allocate resources to deal with this childish bullshit while you really should have been thinking about the thing you're doing, like in the zone. Like what keeps you from doing that? Fear of people ridiculing you, fear of failure, it's all ego, all of it.
Yeah, it's almost like you need enough ego to try.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
then not
That's all you
too
need.
much.
And then you just need strength. After that,
Yeah.
you need to substitute the ego for willpower.
Just resilience, sheer resilience.
But then again, ego sometimes like causes people to do amazing shit.
You need some people with some fucking ego.
How's Kanye West get where he is without ego?
Facts.
How's
Steve
he get-
Jobs.
How's he get there?
How does any
How
of
does
them?
he get there?
Show me a person that has changed the world.
What's that
without
dude
ego.
from Microsoft? Steve Ballmer? Is that his name?
Oh,
dude
yeah.
who bounces around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
guy who
like,
owns the Clippers.
I love this company. Dancing
but
and
low
swinging.
key, I kind of want him because he was the guy who was like making the sales. I believe that he was really pushing it.
Yeah,
I want him to sell me on something.
bro. Play that video. Let's end with this because I gotta pee and I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Play that video. He's yelling at everybody to get up. Bro, this is a software company. They sell a fucking computer operating system, okay? Like, look at this guy.
Bro, look at that.
Bro, think about all the nerds out there in the world that needed this goddamn maniac at the helm of the company
And
for
if
it
he
to
wasn't
achieve the
born
height.
in America, bro, he'd be a mentally retarded farmer and kind of.
This company.
He loves his company. I love his company.
Locked in.
That's too much.
He's so out of breath. His cardio is
Look at
straight
sweat.
dog
Let's
shit.
Let's go.
Sweating raw. He's sweating like a pig.
Love you, brother.
I love you too. You're the man. Thank
You're
you
the
very
man.
much for coming down here.
Always,
I
anytime.
was so happy when you're coming. It means
Always.
a lot to me for you to
course.
come here and
I'll be back
be here
again
for
and
this
again
club
and again.
because it's we're trying to do something cool here.
This is a special
Having
place.
Cool people come down.
I think everybody should come down, check it out. I mean that not only say that to comedians, but like the people. It's a very special place. And check out both rooms. Like if you're coming for the weekend, I would really say
definitely
like
catch a little show.
catch a little show and a big show and just feel it. Even if you're watching the same comic in the different rooms, like feel that difference. Like what are they doing? How does the material change? Like
Indeed.
yeah, check that out.
All right. Bye, everybody.